Hey, Em, how are you?
Oh, hi, Christine. You really had your I'm on voice going on there.
I am the broad of broadcasting, after all.
Well, I also feel like you probably feel obligated to be a little extra chipper because my heart thing's not happening right now, but I'm feeling a little my chest is acting up, I guess. So
It gives me a flutter in my chest when Em says, I'm feeling like my heart is a little wonky. And I'm like, oh no.
Well,
oh no.
Well, no, I just took some medicine, so I should be fine in a little bit. But no, and to not to like totally bum everyone out, but like I'm in like just the weirdest mood. I don't know what is going on, but like I just don't feel right. And then my heart thing was happening, and I just
Well,
I'm overheating. And
today's a new moon in Cancer, so in case you're wondering about that,
I just felt my Gemini powers being stripped away. That must
yeah,
have been
but
it.
a new moon in Cancer is a good thing. It's basically like a big hug from the universe. So maybe you're just getting smothered a little bit.
Maybe I do feel a little smothered. Actually, I feel a little like. Yeah, because I kind of want to be like, get off.
It's all about manifesting.
Okay, I manifest a healthy heart. Oh, wait, don't have that. Okay, let me try something else.
Today, I got the Wordle in 2 guesses.
Oh.
And
someone really wanted to just talk about that. Okay.
No, okay, I know. It doesn't sound relevant, and it probably isn't. But I've been practicing my psychic abilities.
Oh.
And so I was like, I'm going to test it on the Wordle because everyone got it in like 6. Like it took everyone in my like little Wordle group, the Wordle Turtles, a really long time.
Okay. We'll get back to that. Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll try it. And so I can spoil it now for you, right? Because you're not going to do it.
I've literally never played Wordle in my entire life.
So it was droll, D-R-O-L-L. Like
when British people would go, how droll.
Sure, yeah. And
Okay.
so and so I typed in chili, like a chili pepper on the first guess. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to use my psychic thing and see what I can. And I literally, my head just went droll, like a little pop-up. And I typed it in and it was right.
I just said this 5 minutes ago about you off camera, but you are the scariest person to know because like you're a little psychic. You're very interested in just learning anything in one night or less.
Speaking of which, I was just telling Em I would love to learn how to animate some Xenon footage.
Well, Christine, what you really said was, oh, okay, I'll just animate it. And then you were like, I was like, you don't even know how to animate. You're like, I'll figure it out.
Well, here's a picture of me and Chris Angel that I keep meaning to show you. And so I'm sending it to you right now. Because on
good.
Rituals, we talked about Chris Angel a lot. And so I need you to see the photo that I meant to send you while we were recording Rituals. Because I met Chris Angel and...
Oh, for God's sake, Christine.
And I can't wait to put this on Instagram for this episode's picture.
You know what? First of all, when you enlarge it, it's the pixelation that really gets it for me because it's so old. But also, the fact that you took the time to put yourself in this position and you were like, I feel like the 2 obviously drawn on hearts that you did. What I'm getting from this is you drew those 2 hearts and cut off your own arm to push your body closer to his so it looks like you're holding each other. And I think in your minds you went, this needs nothing else.
This needs to go on Facebook. The height of social media success.
This is exactly perfect. No changes needed. You know what? My heart does feel better. Thank you.
Okay, good. This is what I'm trying to do is distract you and make you feel like superior in some way so that, you calm your own nerves. And I feel really bad because Eva is in this call, but she's not on here right now and I didn't text it to her, so I know she's feeling really left out. So
I don't feel bad for her, Eva.
I'm going to send it to the Geos trio so that should I send it to the Wordle Turtles while I'm at it? Maybe.
I think really you should combine all of your rhyming groups and then we can all know who we are. We could all talk about you together.
Eva said, oh my God, Christine. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
It reminds, it was when I got to just be honest. I know where those little hearts came from, and they are from Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, exactly.
With confidence.
This
with
was
confidence, they were
back
from
when
that.
I had a Toshiba, and I definitely couldn't afford Photoshop, or I didn't even know it existed. This was back in 2004.
I actually became really good at Microsoft Paint, and I became really good at whatever the Apple version is, Apple Preview.
Oh. Wait, yeah. You were weirdly good. You used that and Pages and made like entire
I can't Photoshop, but you know what? I can fucking rock some art on Pages.
That. You would and the problem became, and by the way, I said 2004. That's wrong. I was in 7th grade. This was definitely not 2004. This was like
you were old enough to know what you were doing.
Yeah, this is way too far into my life. Yeah, but the problem with M's like creepy skills on these like random platforms, like the free platform that comes with your laptop, is
they don't translate as a document.
Yeah. Well, so we'd be like, oh, we're doing our new tour, and our booking agent Andrew was like, okay, do you have any graphics? And Em was like, yeah, I'll whip one up. And it was like, wow. And Em sent this awesome graphic, and he was like, can you send me? And then they'd be without fail, the venue would be like, could you send me the high res like PDF a layered file? And Em was like, it's a Pages document. And they were like, we don't know what to do. It's
literally a Word document.
It's like
Microsoft
you were like,
Word.
I can export it into Word or take a screenshot. And they were like, that, no.
I mean, I know that. But honestly, what a compliment that a production company was like, we need the layered high res version of this. Like my entire escape rooms are made on Microsoft Pages, to be clear. So
no, it's really incredible.
It is a weird skill, but I think it was because I have the same need you do to want to know every skill, because you might as well know a skill if you can figure it out.
Right.
But I would get too overwhelmed about not knowing a program, so I would learn it through a program I already felt safe with.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
And so I'd be like, well, I can't do Adobe at all, but man, I know how to rock a Microsoft
And also,
Word.
like, it was free with the laptop. You don't have to pay for it to try and learn it. Like, it's such a big undertaking to be like, I'm going to learn Photoshop, but now I have to pay for it first. Like, oh my gosh, no. So you did it. You don't need Photoshop.
Well, thank you. But I feel like you actually do it right. And if you say, I'm going to learn to animate, I know if I talk to you in 24 hours, you will like work for Marvel or something with your animation.
You better believe it'll be the jankiest like stop motion bullshit that takes 8 seconds, but like
Christine,
took me 3 days.
You are shocking for the time crunch. And if I gave you 3 days and you, first of all, I know Christine's up to something when she doesn't answer her phone. Like, I know she has hyperfixated and spiraled so far that she doesn't even know what a phone is anymore.
No.
And
so draw one though on on Adobe.
If I gave you 3 days and taught you how to do a skill, the things that would come out of you in those 3 days are things that people would have spent like a whole summer camp trying to learn. Like it is crazy. And then if I gave you a week, forget about it. I don't even want to know.
Blaze was like, I'm learning coding. And I was like, what? He was like, I'm taking a coding course. And I was like, that's awesome. You know, why not? Like, learn a hobby. And I'm like, finally, he and I are similar in that way that you and I are similar, where we hyperfixate on things like his bourbon thing collection. And then now he's like learning coding, and it's like all he's, you know, and so I was like, oh, I took some coding courses, but I got like really into it, and then I needed to stop because I was like, this is not my career. Like, this is wasting my own time.
I needed to stop before the CIA recruited me because I was so good at my MySpace HTML.
No. I know my HTML. I know we all have a basic coding knowledge. If I was like, but Blaze, you never put pink skulls on your MySpace? And he was like, literally never. So he's like, I didn't have a MySpace. I was like, brag.
Think of what would have happened if we really all like if Facebook never happened and we all just kept coding on MySpace. Do you know how many people in tech there would be today?
It would be STEM out the wazoo.
Think of how many people are in tech because of MySpace. Because I was convinced at one point, I was like, I can be a spy. I can hack. Like, this is amazing.
You and I would be the best spies, except we would tell everyone we were spies. So we'd be like we'd have one fatal flaw.
I think you're wrong, because I think as long as we agreed to the buddy system and everyone gets a one tell.
We could know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. We could probably pull that off. If
you
we
be
were
my one tell
together.
and I be your one tell. And then we could really fuck up the world.
Wow.
The end. That's our podcast, folks.
Goodbye.
See ya. Love, Chris Angel.
Yeah,
By the way,
I'm gonna make Megan put. So, by the way, we have someone. I feel like it's time we say it. Should I say it?
well, you already half said it, so yeah, might as well finish the sentence.
We are working with someone named Megan, and it wasn't my choice.
It was not my choice, to be clear.
And it was my choice because I did say, okay, yeah, go for it.
I was like, you know what? The world's on fire. What else could go wrong?
Exactly.
Let's hire a Megan.
Honestly, let's just like step one more step further into the chaos. And so Megan has been helping us a lot on social media. And so if you see any of those fun posts that she's been posting, they're from Megan. And so I'm going to say, Megan, here you go. And I'm going to send her this photo and say, post it on the internet. And I'm not even going to do it myself. She's going to press the button and it's not going to be my fault. So find her on our Instagram.
Wake up one day to a bunch of complaints on our Instagram because everyone's like, this picture is too much for my eyes.
And then we're going to blame Megan. Hello. It's the perfect scenario.
Maybe that's why we got a Megan. So
honestly,
if anything goes wrong, I could be like, well, wait a
second. That's actually genius. Because you know how people blame their own team? Like they're like, it's not me. It's like the people, my employees, I mean, I'm referencing a specific thing that I'm not going to call out, but like a specific drama that happened on the internet. But yeah, people always love to blame their social media person. And I feel like we could do that, especially with a Megan.
Definitely. Although I will say there are a few Scorpios out there who I have changed my ways for. And this Megan is pretty much nailing it. So
is she a Scorpio? That would be double trouble.
Honestly, Megan, if you are, keep it to yourself because I'm fighting this urge to scream today.
We'll pay for you to change your birth date. I don't know how much that costs, but we'll
really,
pay.
Christine will pay you to tell me that you're a Scorpio.
Oh,
Megan,
yeah, in a special animated feature that I created and produced myself.
Oh, talk about like a tangent lasagna. Like
this is a disaster of an episode already.
I haven't even asked you how you are. Are you okay? Are you doing well?
Well, thank you for asking. I haven't had a drink in several days because I've been trying to cut back because I got to a point where I was like, I mean, and I've done this occasionally and I've talked about it on the show where I realized like, hey, I'm not sleeping well, etc. Maybe I should just cut out booze for a little bit and like, you know,
and then is it working?
And I did stop making the honking sound in my sleep for a couple days.
What a side effect. Interesting.
I know.
So do you think it's alcohol related?
I think it's just when I'm really, really tired, but I've also been taking my iron supplements and I think they're finally kicking in. So I think I'm like getting my little mojo back a bit. But so today, as I warned everyone and myself last episode, I'm covering a very horrific case that's one of the hardest that I've done ever. And so I am back to my booze hound ways for the evening. So I'm feeling fine for the next hour.
You might need more than your iron supplements for whatever.
Yeah.
For you to say, I got my mojo back. Anyway, back to ruining the mood because it's going to be horrible here.
Talk about self-sabotage. That's my favorite activity. Em, how are you doing?
Besides today, I don't know. I really have been in such a weird mood, and I don't know if it's the universe. I don't know if it's just our planet, which is just drastically in crisis every second. But yeah, I'm just feeling real bummy lately. I'm feeling like not depressed. I'm just like maybe it's like a subtle depression where I'm just kind of like I just can't focus. Also, I'm like my ADHD has been a little crazy lately, so I feel like extra stupid lately. Like one of my like big issues is obviously with ADHD is my like lack of focus or lack of attention, but I feel like I've been retaining things even worse than usual. So I just feel like I'm clueless and like I just feel like I'm always missing something in every conversation. Right. So maybe I'm just down on myself. I don't know, but my brain is not happy currently. No. So we'll get there though. It's just one of those days.
Give yourself a break. Give yourself some grace. It's a very hard time. I, as you know, am a big believer in just energy, and I feel like the collective energy right now among the people we care about is very not good.
Just internally, externally screaming, yeah,
all over the place. And I feel like it's totally fair that you feel off and don't know why, don't know how to put your finger on it.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of us are feeling the hurt.
Yeah, I feel weirdly stressed even though nothing too stressful is happening. And
which is
in
the
my
worst
personal
because you're like,
life.
can't I just like relax when I
That's the
have a
feeling.
chance to relax? I totally get what you mean. And you're
That's
like,
the feeling.
I have a day, and like I could just take a
feel
break.
I feel like I'm wasting my day being anxious about something coming up, but nothing's coming up, and then I'm not relaxing at all. I just feel like I'm like
absolutely get that feeling.
I'm
You're like keyed up.
Yeah. I'm like ready.
Yeah.
I'm like ready to fight, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you're in like fight or flight. Oh no.
Anyway, I think
that's
I just
hard
need
your nervous system.
I need a chocolate milk, and I just need to like relax a little bit. I think
milk. Yeah, you do need a chocolate milk.
I do need chocolate milk. That might be how I enjoy. I was actually supposed to have a chocolate milk yesterday as a reward for doing my notes, and then I forgot because of my ADHD. I forgot my one reward. I forgot to do it.
No.
So maybe today I'll have 2 chocolate milks and get real fucked up.
I think you deserve 2 chocolate milks, but do it afterwards since you do have that phlegmy thing that happens when you drink dairy.
Yeah, fair enough. My reward will be I can't breathe for the rest of the day. All right. Anyway, let's get into this story.
Okay.
I do feel a lot better, actually. I don't know if maybe it was just I just needed to vent, or I just maybe a combo of like I miss you and all this stuff. I think talking to you is always very calming to me.
I always feel better when after we chit chat, and I think
I do too. I don't know what it is. I mean,
we don't,
obviously
like, necessarily
friendship, but
and I think we don't always want to record because it's like, wow, it's such a big undertaking and it's so much time and it's so much emotional energy especially with like if we're doing like a dark story, and it's just like it's not that we don't want to record, but it's like, oh, this is like a big project. But I think then once we start talking, it's like, oh yeah, this is also fun. So
oh yeah, it's friendship. Yeah,
I like this person a little tiny bit.
By the way, I am keeping your Chris Angel picture up for the entire episode, just so I have something to encourage me in this dark time.
Welcome.
Okay, so this is a continuation from the last episode I did, which was the Moringa Abduction.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And we were actually supposed to record this episode a while ago, but I ended up having to push it with Christine because a lot of my research was in literal Portuguese.
Emma was like, yeah, I didn't realize it would all be in Portuguese, so I kind of need an extra hour. I was like, let's give it a couple days and we'll come back to this.
Because I was trying to like run the notes through like Google Translate, so then I ended up like it didn't really help because then I had to translate very, very broken, probably not right English into a lot of this is guesswork. By the way, have you ever seen, I think it's Jimmy Fallon who does the Google Translate game?
No, but I love Jimmy Fallon, and you're not a Jimmy Fallon fan, right?
I don't like Jimmy Fallon, but unless we ever get on Jimmy Fallon, then like I could not love a man more.
Then scrub this from the record. No, but right. I fucking love. So I feel like I may have seen it, but I don't. But it sounds like something he would do.
It's like he makes, I think it was like he has musicians come on and sing a song that's been thrown through Google Translate and then brought back to English.
That's really funny, actually.
I think the games are whoever's creating
bits are so good.
Whoever creates the games, fucking brilliant. You need your own show where you just teach us how you create those.
It's true. All the bits, they're just excellent.
I'm just not a Jimmy Fallon fan.
I love him.
I think I'm a Kimmel kind of person.
Kimmel. I love them all. Well,
you know who all.
You know who I
you know who I loved when I was younger was and by loved I mean like was in love with was Chelsea Handler. Chelsea lately I thought I was going to marry her.
What's so funny is my pal Alyssa Evans was also just obsessed with Chelsea Handler and is now also very into women. And I'm like, I wonder if that was also a little.
I wonder if she's
crush.
I wonder if she's like a bridge into the gay world. I don't know. There's something
gateway
about her.
Drug,
I don't know what I don't know what my deal was with her, but if I ever met her, I think I'd be incredibly starstruck.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so basically Portuguese ruined my day last week and I couldn't figure out how to translate my notes in time. So we're doing this a little delayed, but to catch you up, the Moringa Abduction was a guy and his brother getting abducted by aliens, and the main character of the last episode, Joselino, he they were separated, so we don't know what happened to their brother, but at least for Joscelino, he ended up being essayed by a female alien, and with the intention of they were conducting an experiment to try to have a baby with a human.
Yikes.
And what was the reason that this story is coming up today that I'm about to cover is because this story only happened 2 months later. And so it's around the same time, relatively in the same area on Earth. And so they are usually paired together as a interesting that these happened at the same time and have so many parallels.
Right.
So this is the story of, I think it's called the Mirassol Contact. And our main character is Antonio Carlos Ferreira, I think is how you say it. And so here we go, I guess.
I guess you seem very confident.
I was gonna try to like piece them together more, but I was like, well, we'll get there. We'll get there in the story.
I don't know what it is in Portuguese, but you should say "vamos."
Just vamos will do. That's all we're gonna do.
Okay.
So, Mirassol is a city in Sao Paulo, and Antonio Carlos, who is our main character, the thing that's interesting about him is that he had up to 20 encounters with these beings after his first abduction. So he has been experiencing things through the 70s into the 80s. And I don't know if it continued after that. The furthest we get is to 1986.
Wow.
And it seems like the aliens were showing up about every 18 months or so.
Gee, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like right when you forget about it, they come
right.
back.
Like you're like, oh, so much time's passed. Never mind.
Never mind.
So this is also similar to a case from 1957, which I have not covered before, but I feel like now I'm really on a roll and probably should cover this. There's a case of a man named Antonio Villaboas in 1957, and he was also essayed by extraterrestrials. I think that's why I've never covered it, because I think all of these I was really uncomfortable to cover because I'm not someone who usually has to handle talking about that kind of stuff publicly, and I get really nervous and all that. So
it's a big undertaking.
Obviously, I have the best intentions, and I am on the right side of history, everybody. So I hope if I ever say anything that I just get nervous because I want to make sure I'm doing it justice, and while also not re-traumatizing anyone who might be listening. So but yeah, I've been avoiding these topics for a while, and now that I'm in the thick of it, maybe that one will also be coming up soon.
I'll be honest, that's kind of why I'm doing the Girl Scout murders today, is because I've been ignoring them for so long, and I got to a point where I was like, I have the notes.
Yeah.
It's I've been seeing it around in the news a little bit, and I'm like, I need to, like, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to tell the story, and even though it's rough. So
it's rough, yeah.
Look at us breaking our own.
I know. Well, I feel bad for you
boundaries.
because for me, just talking about essay and my story is rough. But for you, you have to like really tell a horrible story. We're both stretching our boundaries in different ways.
But on the flip side, you have to react to it, which is also not fun.
It's going to be a lot of me going, oh my God, I don't want to be here. So that's...
Yeah. How good for you and me and everybody.
So anyway, one of the sources out there about this alien abduction, or several abductions, is called UFO Contact at Mirassol. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mirassol would be the... And like I said, a lot of sources either were in Portuguese or had Portuguese in them, or the quotes were in Portuguese, and it was a bit of a nightmare for me. It was just a new challenge that I don't usually have to deal with.
Right.
And so I don't really have anything except to just kind of start listing what happened during each of the encounters. So, and I don't have all 20 encounters written out. Some of them I couldn't find anything on except that he had another encounter, and then it just goes into the next date. But there are some dates that are very notable. So one of the first ones that's very notable is his first encounter with them. And keep in mind, this was only 2 months after the story that I did last week. So, interesting timing.
And how close is this place to where the first one happened?
5.5 hours away.
Okay, but in Brazil.
In Brazil.
Got it.
So there you go. Only 5 hours away, 2 months from the last time that this happened.
Okay.
So this is June 28th, 1979. And at 3 a.m., our main character, Antonio, he is working as a security guard during the night shift at a furniture factory. And so he's doing his rounds and he makes his way to like a bathhouse or a outdoor bathroom. And he's walking around with his guard dog. So the two of them are walking up through the courtyard up to this bathhouse. And all of a sudden they see a light touch down outside.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing what it is, they go out to see a gray metallic UFO with 3 legs coming out of it. It's like it's like on a tripod. And it has green and red lights. And out of the UFO come 3 male humanoid beings.
Oh boy.
We're coming in hot. This is a very
for real.
There's no warm up into this story.
No.
So these and apparently they were similar to, some of them at least, were similar to how the ones looked in our last episode where they were like oddly human, like you almost wouldn't even notice.
It makes you wonder if they're like projecting themselves into a way that you can see them, you know?
Yeah. And so these 3 humanoids, they have white jumpsuits and full face helmets. So you can't even see their face, like an astronaut helmet.
Mm-hmm.
The jumpsuits had boxes on either side. So one box on the chest and one box on the back of the jumpsuit. And the one of the boxes had a tube leading to the helmet. So I guess this is how they're breathing in our atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
And the jumpsuits had an insignia on it. And the symbol was a cross inside of a circle. So it looks like almost like an archery, like a target.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so him and this dog, they see these 3 things come out of a UFO, and the guard dog lunges at them. And they do something. It was like clearly like by using the force, I guess. And they do something to make the dog stop in its tracks and like kind of fall over so he's not being dangerous to them.
They didn't kill him though, right?
No, they just kind of knocked him over so he wouldn't charge at them. But I will say, apparently for the next few weeks, the dog did have some behavioral changes. So he was
probably scared.
He had some trauma, yeah. But the dog was fine, and that's the end of the story with the dog. So
Thank
we
God.
can remove him from our head.
Thank you for gently handling me with care as
You're welcome.
I struggle through your story.
I knew to even warn you that we were done with that. So like you don't even have to think about it.
So much.
So now it's just well, not Angelino. Antonio. I was like, in my head I was like Los Angeles. Hang on. In my head I
That's
messed
where
it up.
I am.
Right. I was like Angelino. I was like, that's what I am technically. So Antonio. He's by himself with these 3 things. He's just watched them knock over the dog without even touching the dog. And they have this box, and they open up the box, and inside is this red laser or red light, and they point it at Antonio, and it paralyzes him. And then he starts floating and floats with them to the craft.
That's what happened
UFO.
to Host. What was his name?
Joselino. Yeah, he
also floated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Antonio says that his main way of transit to these UFOs every time was through floating. So already a similarity there. These humanoid looking beings. I don't remember them having jumpsuits or an insignia with the last guy, but they do seem to be like relatively human looking. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is a quote. So he's in the middle of the courtyard when he sees this, and then he starts floating onto the UFO. And a quote about it later said, "Later investigation showed that a few meters from the bathhouse, his steps on the ground disappeared in such a way that it seemed like he went out and evaporated into thin air, and there were no other steps besides his."
Oh, my goodness.
Confirmation that he just began floating in the middle of the grass. but also there were no steps from anyone else. So like, where were they floating, or are they so light they don't leave footprints? I don't know.
Oh my God.
So when he was brought back to the craft, he was able to see Earth through a window. I guess their windows had like red glass. He was looking through this red glassed window, red tinted window, and he could see Earth, but he could tell that he was very far away. So this is a quote about him looking through the window. Twice, when Antonio Carlos came near this window, he felt very truthfully horrified to see the earth very small and distant, where he could make out small lights very dim, and he thought they might be cities.
Oh, that's gotta be freaky.
In like seconds flat, this guy is like not near Earth. He also apparently saw, while on this UFO, quote, 4 robot-like creatures that were parked in a row along the wall when they were not working. So these aliens also have robots.
Okay, so it's not the aliens, it's a different thing.
Yeah, they like have their own C-3PO. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So here's a description of the different types of extraterrestrials he saw. They all had, for the most part, the first group of them were about 4 feet tall. They had very large facial traits, so big eyes, big ears, big nose. They had large slanted eyes, but no eyebrows. Ew. They had green or brown skin, and the people with brown skin had red curly hair. Okay. Or they were lighter skinned with straight black hair. So those are the ones that probably look the most human, I guess.
Sure.
Just because the combination of green skin with red hair is not what I find often here. But so there was also dark skin or light skin with straight black hair. So I would say those are probably, maybe those were the ones that
they're nailing it.
Yeah, if they were all in disguise, they were definitely doing the best job.
Their parents bought their Halloween costumes instead of making them.
So the other group of people that he saw, some of them had maroon colored skin and some of them were very light skinned with blonde hair and blue eyes. And those people were the ones that had a white and blue jumpsuit with a green belt.
Okay.
So he saw like a real variety of people.
Yeah, for real.
And apparently of all of them, the green skin aliens, they seemed to be the alphas because they were the one that he always saw at control tables giving orders.
The green skin ones.
So I don't know if there's a hierarchy, but he thinks the green ones were probably in charge.
Okay. And they had the red hair.
That's what I think. Green or brown skin with red curly hair.
Okay.
So he was then, this is still during his first encounter. While he was up there, he was put in front of this TV projector kind of thing to have his photo taken. And he thinks this machine was also somehow able to like read his thoughts.
Uh-oh.
I didn't get any more information other than that, but he was like, it can tell what I'm thinking.
You know, I've heard a few abduction stories where people say, oh, they knew what I was thinking.
It's so
without
creepy.
Elaborating. And I wonder if there's just a way that you can know, like, oh, they're in my mind.
No wonder you're so scared of them maybe being able to read your mind, because it does seem like a common thread.
Right?
Of, like, they can, and also, like, we don't know what their machines can do. Maybe it really was like an x-ray but for your thoughts, or what if it was like maybe it was translating however you speak so then it could talk to you. I don't know. So anyway, so then he goes into this room with, quote, one of these small beings who was completely nude, clearly demonstrating her intention to take his hand. So this is where I say trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Skip a few minutes, and hopefully if this is something you don't want to hear, then, you know, I hope you know, good luck.
Avoid it.
I hope you avoid it.
Yeah.
So she is completely nude, tries to take his hand, and she's very, very heavily implying that she wants him to kiss her. And he kept thinking the whole time that he didn't want to because she was ugly. Okay. So
okay.
And when they saw, but here's the thing, because apparently he's even at one point telling her, like, you're ugly, I don't want to do
she's
this.
reading his fucking mind, so that must be awkward.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, that makes me wonder then too, because I'm like, if they can read his mind, that they had to know he didn't want this.
I don't think they seem to care very much.
They certainly don't, because my next bullet is when they saw he wasn't interested on his own, 3 of the male beings tore off his clothes, and when he fought back, they got really aggressive.
Oh my God.
Interestingly, they made no efforts to undo his buttons or his zippers or his fasteners at all. They just ripped his shirt from the collar down. And in hindsight, researchers have thought maybe this is because they were all wearing one-piece jumpsuits and they didn't know how fasteners work.
Sure. I guess if you don't have a button on your planet, how are you supposed to know?
Right. So, one of the theories is that I know how fucked up this sounds and I'm not in agreement with it, but one of the theories is they didn't mean to be so aggressive. They just don't know how to take off human clothes.
Right.
And so that was a thought. And then here is a quote. It is very long, but I did not want to mess it up, about the experience he had. It appears that the UFO knots stripped Antonio naked and then rubbed his body all over with a thin yellowish oil, even his face, perhaps as a disinfectant or a germicidal agent to protect the female cosmonaut, and possible to protect him also from transmittal of some kind of bacteria that might be harmful to us. This may also have been the reason for stripping him naked. I beg to differ going further, but okay. Then when he resisted the attentions of the UFO knot, he was made to drink a different liquid, possibly an aphrodisiac, to stimulate his interest in the act with the woman.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When he still resisted, he was held securely by 3 of the UFO knots and was given an intravenous injection in the left arm. Yeah. And this evidently had the desired effect, but he was still fighting to resist touching her because he thought she was ugly. It was at this point that he was given a shot of something in the right arm, and they fastened an instrument onto his left arm. The shot broke his resistance, and he felt weak all over. He was lifted and held in position on top of the female extraterrestrial to complete the sex act, possibly monitored by the instrument on his left arm because they knew when to let him go. So it's as if it was reading.
That was bad.
Yeah.
And also, like, I beg to differ on, like, oh, because he thought she was ugly. It's like,
right.
Maybe he's just like,
maybe he just doesn't fucking want this.
Doesn't matter why. Right.
So I saw one set of notes that said that he was like screaming, like, "You're ugly. I don't want this." And it was, I don't know. For all we know, that was just him trying to say anything that would hurt her so that he wouldn't have to
like explain or something.
Yes. And interestingly, this answers a question I had from the last episode when I was like, I'm curious as to why or how it worked that Joscelino, when he also experienced something like this, not as physically aggressively, I guess, but unless we don't know all the information, but in his story, he was also on top. And I was confused because I was like, how was that happening? But in this story, that kind of answers it, where like 3 different beings held him on top.
Yeah. And it seemed to control him with some sort of armband or whatever.
Yeah. That could like tell when he was no longer
disturbing. That's deeply disturbing.
Yeah. This is definitely the most uncomfortable I've ever been, I think, reporting a story on my end.
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's a toughie.
So after all this, they reapplied that oil on him and then let him put his clothes back on.
Okay.
So I think that is probably where we can end the trigger warning. It doesn't get more as graphic as that. So
if you have been skipping forward, you should be okay.
Yes.
Now.
And the extraterrestrials, I don't know what to call them. I like the word cosmonaut. That was cool.
Yeah, they said UFO knot.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So these UFO knots, they apparently talked to each other in the room with him after this, but they were talking in a language that sounded something like Japanese, and apparently all of their voices were just in a higher pitch, just to give you a description of how they talked. And so he couldn't understand them, but when they would look at him and directly talk to him, all of a sudden he could understand them.
Sure, yeah.
So creepy.
Freaky.
So maybe it was telepathically that he could hear them. And these beings basically said that they were now going to, or they had just examined the woman in the other room, and they told Antonio that she was pregnant with his baby. And
Wait, what?
I guess it works differently up there. You don't have to wait a certain amount of time to find out. They were able to see instantaneously that she was now pregnant.
Okay.
And then this is a quote from them. Apparently they told Antonio, "This was not the first such experiment to succeed." So this has happened to other people.
Dear God.
They said they were researchers trying to, quote, produce a child of an Earth man. And then they said they would come back so he could meet his kid.
Oh, how nice.
He's like, yeah, thanks.
Thanks. I did not ask for that, I don't think.
They also marked him with their with the symbol of the cross and a circle. I don't know if that means they branded him or something.
Weird.
There's no proof ever that I could find that he like shows off his markings to people, which, like, first of all, why would you? That's not anyone's business but your own. But also, if he was looking to like prove anyone wrong or prove anyone right or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be like a marker that washed off.
Oh, that's true. I didn't know if, like, for evidence, like, he still had it on him. But it could have literally just been a marker. But all I know is that they marked him, and I don't know what that word means. But so they marked him with their symbol, and then they made him drink, quote, a dark, disagreeable, exotic tasting liquid.
Okay.
That's awful.
It's called Kahlua. No.
And basically when he came back, or when they brought him back to Earth, all he remembers is waking up near the bathhouse by the courtyard at 5 a.m.
Oh my God. And he's like still on the job.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. What
sucks.
What a point. I didn't even think about that. Like, oh, now he's still working.
Now it's 5 a.m. and he's like, well, super.
Yeah. And I don't know if, I think that whole story was found out later in hypnosis. I think he just lost time at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m.
That's what happens a lot too, is that like these stories are buried subconsciously until hypnosis brings it out.
Well, that's also what happened with Joselino in the last episode, where he had to go get hypnosis to even know what happened to him. And he just kind of woke up in the spot where he remembers passing out, and that's what happened here.
So it's like they erase your memory, but they can't fully get rid of it almost.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what the gross liquid was, that maybe it's like a memory eraser.
I hadn't thought of that.
I don't know. But when he came to, he saw an injection mark on his arm.
Yikes.
He saw a burn mark, so maybe he was burned.
Oh, maybe that was it, yeah.
And he experienced intense body tingles, which apparently lasted on and off for years after this.
Oh.
So
well, that sounds a lot like the, well, maybe not, but in my mind, it reminds me of the electric shock that other guy felt.
Well, I was going to say, Joselino also, he felt a lot of body tingles. And remember he said like he was like walking around and he felt body tingles when it was following him for the first time, and it didn't feel like, he said they were bad chills.
Oh, the chill. Yeah. Oh, ew.
So I wonder if those are the same, but also, yeah, maybe he was like a little electrocuted or something from, because in the last story I covered, Joselino got shocked when he tried to talk about what happened.
Talk about it.
So when he got home, his mom could tell he was acting weird, and he eventually told her, and she went looking for help. So that was the first encounter. And next, I guess, I don't know if there was an encounter during this time. This was a part that was like all Portuguese and I couldn't translate. So something happened during August and September in 1979. And all I know about this time is that Antonio went to go get hypnosis therapy with a guy named Alvaro Fernandez. And he did this to try to remember what happened. And his first two sessions were August 5th and August 19th. And that was when I think maybe he was able to recall what happened in June.
Right.
So I don't think I even noticed this until right now. So August 5th is when he had his first hypnosis therapy session, which is when he would have started talking about this to somebody. Mm-hmm. And maybe the aliens knew about it or heard him talk about it, because the next day was his next encounter.
Aha.
Oh, see, I'm picking up on things I didn't even know I was picking up on. Okay. So that August 5th was Hypnosis Day. August 6th, going into August 7th, at 11 o'clock at night, there was a strange object that was seen flying through the skies of Mirassol. Many people saw it in the city. It was reported by a lot of people because people were like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
It was apparently an oblong shape. It was dark yellow and had lights around the rim of it.
Okay.
And alongside this UFO, one that was red instead of gold was also seen, and it was moving a lot slower, like it was on patrol or searching for something.
Ew.
And it was reportedly disappearing in front of people's eyes and re-emerging in different places. So it was like, it had either like some sort of incognito invisibility mode, or it was teleporting or something.
Yeah.
And the main theory is that the yellow UFO was the mothership and the red one was a lower ranking ship doing a task.
I don't love that.
Well, so that was at 11 p.m. August 6th. I think Antonio was asleep at the time, so he didn't even know that that happened and people were seeing these UFOs. But 6 hours later, he was abducted. So it was like 6 hours after everybody was reporting all of this stuff.
Took them 6 hours to find this guy?
I know.
It's not a very good little teleporter down there.
Well, so we assume he was abducted because he left for work around 4 a.m., but he planned on going to work, but then he saw this red light and felt dizzy, and maybe that comes from the red ship. So he saw this red light and felt really dizzy, and it made him feel so sick he couldn't remember anything else and ended up walking back home, and he got home at 6 a.m., so there's 2 hours of time missing.
Oh, no.
But all he remembers is feeling dizzy, sitting down, and then getting up and going home. But 2 hours passed, and he didn't live that far away on foot from work.
Yeah.
And while walking home, he had body tingles again, and he later found another injection mark on his arm, and that injection site was beginning to bleed at random. Now that I do not like.
No.
So that's maybe the second time that there was an encounter.
Okay.
After that, in September, he sees a green light that apparently spoke telepathically to him. The same thing happens to him a month later on October 8th. And then there's several months that go by without anything until February of 1980. And all I could find for sources on this was the words trees uprooted. So I don't know.
Dun, dun.
I don't know what that means, but apparently something alien-y happened to him and trees were uprooted. Or he found trees that were uprooted. I don't know.
Very scary.
Then nothing happens until like 2 years later, as far as my notes could find. Maybe there was something I missed. But January 1982, he sees one of these beings in the woods.
No.
Absolutely not.
Why is he in the woods?
6 months later, in July 1982, he sees another UFO, similar to the ones he'd seen before, but it was so close to him that he could look through the window, and in the UFO, he could see a female alien and a smaller alien looking at him, which may or may not be his child and the person he had the child with.
I didn't even think about that. The child.
Because now it's been, 4 years? Or 3 years?
I didn't even think about that. Oh, God. No. So they're like, anyway, here, we promised you could see your child.
Exactly. So they were looking at him through the window, and that was, as far as I know, the whole encounter. A month later, though, Antonio is beamed up to the UFO through a green light, and when he gets there onto the UFO, he's injected with this yellow liquid, and he meets two aliens, and one of them is allegedly his child. And this is either the right date or it's 2 years later. I saw different sources say different things. So it was either this August 1982 or in 1984 this happens where he meets his child. But it comes up eventually. And then that same year, 4 months later, New Year's Eve, 1982, at 2 a.m., Antonio wakes up to a bright green light, and in his own house, he wakes up to this green light in his house.
No.
and he sees that the back door to his house is open.
Oh, no.
And he hears a noise in the next room.
Oh, my God.
Honestly, forget it.
Forget it.
The same 3 aliens that he has seen many times at this point, they were in the room when he went to go check. And they asked, "Are you scared?" And he literally said no and walked away. Which at this point, how could you? Like, I think that's such a badass power move of like, oh, no,
Right.
I'm not scared. Please fucking leave me alone.
I just want to go back to sleep.
Yeah. And so he was like, no, I'm not scared. And he tries to walk away. But then I don't know if that pissed him off or if they weren't done with their conversation. But all of a sudden, they have this object that can shoot green light, and they shot it at him. So I don't know if it was like, are you scared? You should be. What do you mean you're not scared and we don't have power over you? I don't know what caused it.
What did
but
the green light do?
So it shot at him and the light burned his shirt.
Oh.
And I guess maybe either once it hit his shirt, maybe he moved, or either their shooting was shaky, because not only did it burn the shirt, but it also burned the calendar on the wall next to him. So, and he doesn't remember anything else after that. But when he comes to, hours later, he sees that his chest and arm have another injection mark, and he has cuts all over him.
Oh my God.
This is when Antonio went looking for his own help, and he finds a guy named Professor Ney Matiel Perez. I'm not sure how to pronounce. I think it's Professor Perez. And he agrees to meet Antonio like the next day. He's like, "Listen, it's New Year's Eve. I'm probably very sleepy. I'll see you tomorrow." So the next day he shows up and he goes to the house and he sees his shirt and the calendar and the wall all with these burn marks. So he knows that Antonio's legit. And 2 months later, in March 1983, apparently 3 different times this month, Antonio witnesses the extraterrestrials again.
Oh my God.
So that was, imagine thinking like, oh, I just saw them, but they only show up every 6 months or so. At least I've got 6 months off. But now it's March and you see them 3 times in a month. Like, it's just so chaotic now. Like the timing makes no sense.
It's scary. You never know.
Because then after he saw them 3 times that month in March 1983, he doesn't see them again until summer 1984.
Okay.
So it's really just at random. Which is just
hate that.
Additionally horrible because you can't even prepare for it.
No.
So this is July 15th, 1984. And this becomes a thing where the next few times he experiences them is when he steps outside for a second, and like the second his foot hits the outdoors, he is getting beamed up by a light. Like, doesn't stand a fucking chance.
No. See, this is when my thought is, if they ask me, "Are you scared?" I'd be like, "Fuck yes."
It's like, you win.
Terrified.
I'm out of here. I don't want this anymore. Yeah, exactly. That's what I would do too. So he wakes up in the middle of the night, and every time it seems like he's waking up for a random reason. Like he was weirdly overheating one night. So I don't know if like they're causing him, like maybe they can't beam him up in the house, because for all the times they encounter him, they can't bring him into the UFO from inside a house.
Oh.
I wonder if like he would like hit the roof and get stuck on his house or something, where like he like can't go through, he can't phase through other objects.
And they have this pretty decorative grate on the chimney, so they can't really like pull him through there either.
Well, also I was thinking like, I feel like, wasn't there a UFO story I covered a while ago where like they would almost hypnotize you into walking outside yourself, or maybe they I feel like they just floated you through your own house until you could get to the door. I don't know.
That's freaky.
I feel like something like that has happened, but I guess they can't get to him if he's in his house, or they can't at least beam him up. They can only come inside and interact with him there. But anyway, so he wakes up in the middle of the night for no reason, and he goes outside to get some fresh air, instantly beamed up by a green light, and he's brought to a planet's surface. Like, not even it just hanging out in the sky, but
yeah.
So apparently these are the same beings as usual, but there's one of each. So he sees one with maroon colored skin, one with green colored skin, and one with white colored skin.
Okay.
And they put this device on his left arm. Feels normal at this point, probably. They took some of his blood, and then these escorts brought him to a spaceport. which was hidden inside of a crater.
Oh, interesting.
Even crazier, this crater apparently was inside of whatever living rock is.
Huh?
They said, oh, the crater's inside living rock. I was like, girl, that's
Girl,
rock.
what?
I'm confused. So anyway, they go into this crater, they see a spaceport, and he realizes that this spaceport is basically like a garage for a variety of different UFO ships. I saw in one source that they actually taught him how to fly a fucking UFO.
Oh.
So, but then that's another thing where it's like, is this Stockholm syndrome, or is he just agreeing to everything just for his own self-preservation? Like,
or does he not have control and they're just controlling him?
That's how I would think it is, that he's just like smiling and nodding and getting through it to survive.
Right.
But one article kept making it sound like they were buddies now, which freaks me out. But then I also think about the last episode where Joselina was like, they're really good people. And I'm like, are you saying that because you mean it or because you're scared?
It does sound like Stockholm syndrome,
right?
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, I don't know what the right phrasing is, but like, I want to believe everything a survivor is saying, but also like, it's a little hard to believe. I'm like, do you just not feel safe and you feel like you have to make light of it? Or also, apparently, while he's in this crater and in this garage with all the UFOs, he sees rocks with symbols on them in the, I guess he's assuming it's this alien language. On some of these rocks, he sees the same emblem that they have on their jumpsuits. He sees a triangle. Apparently, they started marking him with these triangles and symbols that he was seeing on the rocks. And during this event, they injected him with a white substance and marked him with more symbols.
Oh my God.
And while he's here, he also sees hairy extraterrestrials that look like monkeys. And then he also sees what looks like hairy crabs, but they feel cold as ice to the touch. And here's the weird thing. Apparently the beings told him, oh yeah, we release a few of those at every place we land. Like, what?
The beings, not the crabs. The extraterrestrials said they released the crabs.
They release these little crab things at every place they land. So, like, if you've ever seen a really hairy crab that's ice cold to the touch, I don't know. Apparently, he'd never seen one before. But he was like, "What the fuck is this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." Like, it also, what do they have? Like GPS on them or something? Like, is it to track that you've been here before? Like a bucket list check off? Like, what's? I don't know what's happening. But is it for fun? Is it like a weird, shitty prank? I don't know.
I don't get it. How weird.
And so at the same time, before he gets back to Earth, he's looking out of the windows and he can see the atmosphere. Apparently, he actually properly described what was going on in the atmosphere that night, because later they were able to corroborate that with like meteorologists. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what was happening.
Oh, that's freaky.
But he was like front and center, being able to watch what was happening. It's super creepy. So then at the end of this trip, the extraterrestrials finally, maybe, introduce him to his daughter. And I say maybe.
God.
I say maybe because there was another source that said this happened 2 years prior, but this source seemed to have more information. So at the end of this trip, he sees these monkeys, he sees these hairy crabs, and now he's seeing his daughter. Apparently her name is Azalea. And she seemed bigger than human children are at that age. Apparently she was very, very smart. Apparently she was dark-skinned with red hair, and she had smaller ears. So I guess she got her ears from him, because usually they have
cute.
I know. But usually they have like larger, slanty, pointy ears.
Oh, okay.
And hers seemed more human. And apparently, quote, she had no desire to meet her terrestrial relatives. So there you have that.
Honestly, they should have just let it be then, but okay.
Exactly. Yeah, if she was,
I don't think he was asking to meet her either, so.
I mean, I can't even imagine what that experience is like. I imagine part of you is re-traumatized.
Yeah, like
why is maybe curious, maybe not. I don't know.
Ugh.
So I don't know what he was going through in the moment. Probably just shell-shocked again about having to be abducted for the 20th time in like 5 years. And so that was in July. And then they don't talk to him again until November, where again, he wakes up in the middle of the night. He goes outside for a moment, immediately beamed up, this time by a red light, which I don't know if green and red light mean different things.
Weird.
But the first time he saw the UFO, he said it had green and red lights. So maybe it's just
True.
like just a random
Luck of the draw.
I don't know. Yeah. So he gets beamed up then. A month later, it's 11 p.m. and he walks outside and is again instantly beamed up. He doesn't remember anything, lost a chunk of time, but there was an injection site when he woke up. And then they leave him alone for another couple months until March 1985. And there's another encounter where he is I think this was thought to be the last encounter for a while. But they just keep showing up. So I think this was one of the moments where he actually felt like, no more. And then it just kept happening. A year later, May 1986, at this time it happens literally at Antonio's fucking work. And he was apparently so fed up. He was, especially because like that was like over a year later. So maybe he thought like, I'm finally getting some peace.
That must be a nightmare.
Like he's like, it's never going to end. So he was fed up. He fucking snapped and he pulled a gun on the UFO because he's a security guard. So he had a gun on him at work. So he called for backup, which I wonder if that means he had told people already like, oh yeah, this UFO follows me.
Mobilize.
Or if he was like, I don't know if he was just going to blow their minds when they saw a UFO. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but he called for backup and pulled out a gun, and the backup didn't get there in time. And all they found was his hat and gun on the ground. And they called the police and everyone was looking for him all day. And apparently he had been beamed up again and woke up hours later outside of the factory in some bushes.
Holy shit.
And he was still in touch with this professor who was trying to help him. The professor, I think, was aware of like his hypnosis conversation. So maybe like he was more involved or invested or in the know. But he came with the police looking for him when he went missing. And the professor apparently is the one that found burn marks in the grass that looked like UFO legs and a ramp, like a descending ramp. And I guess he was able to calculate the size of the UFO that picked him up. And it was only 3 meters wide, but a lot of Antonio's stories seem like he was first picked up by a smaller UFO and then brought to the mothership.
Oh, okay.
So the last encounter we know of, or that at least I could find, was a month later in June 1986. It was around 10:30 a.m., which was the first time that he had been abducted in broad daylight. He was beamed up again, and that's really the last of the sightings I could find. And as for Antonio and the extraterrestrials, they apparently know that the professor was trying to help Antonio. And so of the professor, apparently the extraterrestrials are, quote, aware of the professor and his interests in what he's doing. They showed Antonio how they can see what is happening at a distance. They have not agreed to allow the professor to meet Antonio's extraterrestrial daughter yet, but they have not ruled it out yet either. So,
what the fuck?
Can you imagine finding out that your friend who keeps getting abducted, like they know about you? Can you imagine if I got abducted and then I was like, by the way, they told me to tell Christine hi? Like,
honestly,
what?
Yeah, because that is my fear, is that they know that I'm thinking about them.
They imagine if I got abducted and I came back down and I was like, they told me to tell you they are aware.
They aren't sure if you're allowed to meet your niece/nephew/nibbling yet, but maybe someday.
Truly for the... I mean, like, this guy was just trying to help Antonio through it, but I guess maybe they had told him, like, don't talk to anybody.
Well, it sounds like he was, like, very invested and interested, which is probably not to their benefit.
Right, yeah. Anyway, that is the story of the Mirassol Abductions.
Oh my God, and that happened, like, 2 months after the fucking other guy?
The Moringa Abduction, yeah. And it does have a lot of parallels. I mean, they both, all the way down to the awful graphic stuff.
Bad stuff, yeah.
But like constantly losing track of time, having these body tingles.
Do you think, like researching both of these, do you think they are the same group of extraterrestrials?
I don't know, because the description of how they looked was different for each of them. But I wonder if that's just like they were different departments of the same research team or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or if they like present how they think you personally
I also like
would
to think of
react.
it. Yeah, that's true. But then again, like, I don't think meeting someone with green skin is going to make me feel more relaxed about my abduction. But I
Speak
do
for yourself.
I do wonder you know how like when there was like the race to the moon, like I
Yeah.
wonder if there was a race to
Oh
this
yeah, like
experiment.
they're competing almost.
Yeah, maybe it was like just because for it to also be in the same location, only 2 months later, like same time, same place, it feels like they were racing for
They're
the
second
same.
place.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
so maybe that's what it was. I have no idea.
You know I'm freaked out.
I know you're freaked out. And next week, I was thinking about doing the Antonia Villaboas case, but I might hold off on that. I don't know if I can tolerate talking about SA 3 weeks in a row. So
Oh God, yeah. I mean, give yourself a break, I guess.
yeah. Shout out, by the way, to I've got a friend named Emma who works at Starbucks.
I wanted those cups so bad.
She's a real homie. She was like a huge fan of London Fog Friday, which I wish I could still do, but I still can't figure out fucking close friends on Instagram.
Honestly, close friends is letting us down because they make
astronomically.
it so difficult. Like they make it so. Yeah.
But so during London Fog Friday, Emma was like, "I work at Starbucks. You tell me what you need, you get it." And I was like, "Emma,
Ooh la la."
And so got me everything to make a Starbucks El Foggy at home and these color changing cups. And she still texts me regularly to give me updates on like what the new flavors are that are coming out but haven't been released yet.
Okay, you gotta. Why don't you text me that? I'm your S-Bucks buddy.
I will. It was mainly the last update, I think, was to let me know that the s'mores frappuccino was not coming back, and I'm glad she. Well, it's every summer, so it would have happened by now. They've discontinued it. I know. I'm glad she let me down before I looked like a fool at every Starbucks trying to find it. So
honestly, I don't drink many frappuccinos, but that's the one I like.
The s'mores one rocked my goddamn world. It was the only one. And now I'm just never going to have a frappuccino again.
I mean, that's the good one. I like that and Java chip, but you don't like coffee. So s'mores is the way to go.
Well, Java chip, if you want it without the coffee flavor, you ask for double chocolate chip and that's what you get.
Okay.
So it still exists, but there was nothing like that. The s'mores cream frappuccino. Oh, forget about it. It was like just drinking a cloud.
That's too bad.
Anyway, if you are Emma, no offense, but if there's someone out there who's higher up at Starbucks who's like the president.
Sorry, Emma.
Emma, I'm sure you have screamed for me, but it didn't
listener,
work.
Or were you friends with Emma before the podcast?
No, Emma's a listener.
Oh, that's pretty badass.
Was just a big fan of London Fog Friday.
Wow.
Always gave me the hookup. But so I'm gonna need Emma to find like the CEO of Starbucks and get s'mores back on the menu.
Yeah, find the CEO. I'm sure Emma. Wow, Emma,
it's like that TikTok sound of like, why don't you just call Taylor up?
Why? Especially now that 4 of your stores have unionized. You can finally... No, I'm just kidding. I'm very proud of all the unionized Starbucks. And downtown Cincinnati is the first in the city to unionize. Yeah, I'm very proud of them.
Fun.
So yeah, Emma, come on.
Emma, you were doing great for a while, but I'm going to need you to step it up for s'mores season.
Honestly, this is what it's like to be friends with Em. Like, the bar just keeps going higher and higher. And
I've
you
just seen
can't win.
It's my job to always let you know that you can do more than you realize. And if it benefits me, then let's really make it happen.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's all about self-empowerment for Em's sake.
I don't know if you know this. I am a Gemini. And
what?
I am a Gemini.
Get out of town.
And by the way, will always hype people up whether or not it benefits me. But if it does, now that I've got a stake in it, I will really rock your world. Especially with this animation thing. I think once you figure out how to animate something and then I can find a way to weasel my way into the success, I just might try. So good luck.
Honestly, it's kind of how the podcast started. We were like, let's figure out how to podcast. And then that night at 3 a.m. I was like, let's record tomorrow. And you were like, fuck yeah, let's go. And
but that's why I love us. You really do let my chaotic energy control a situation. But then it's like, I think I'm controlling the situation. Like I say, let's do it.
No, I do, but it's true.
And then you
do
fucking
same.
nail it.
No, but like it's like a Gemini twin
It's
bullshit.
a tag team. It's a real tag team,
Yeah.
because I think you have some really chaotic opinions and some really chaotic ideas, but maybe don't know how to execute them, and then I'll do it. But then
You
it's vice
show
versa.
up. Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
beautiful.
you need something on Microsoft Word, you fucking hold on tight. It's
You're
gonna
like,
be a great bumpy
pages?
ride.
Get out of here. Who needs PowerPoint?
Oh, I love
can-
our friendship,
I
Christine.
can remove a fucking photo. I can remove a background, make it transparent.
I really do love that you let my my irrationality take over. Like
Always.
you ride with it, but then I also ride with yours.
Yes, you do, and you support me in that, and I feel like not everyone does, so thank you.
If you didn't call me with a reckless idea and we didn't try our best to make it happen, I'd be offended. I'd be like, what do you mean you don't want to build a roller coaster at midnight? What do you mean you think you can and won't try? I don't
I would
get
say
it.
it's opposite day. Obviously, I do want to do that. Oh gosh.
No, I will always encourage your rabble rousing, your tomfoolery.
Honestly, I deeply appreciate that, and it goes both ways. I will always support you in your rabble rousing as well.
Yeah. That's why we belong.
That's why. Okay, well, you didn't ask for this.
I take it back. I don't want any more ideas out of you,
You don't
including
want
this
it.
story.
You don't want it. It's bad. I'm doing the Girl Scout murders today. I've had these notes for months.
You know what? You're doing what you have to, and their story needs to be heard.
That's the thing. And I've listened to a few YouTubers do it. I've since we talked last, aka like 2 weeks ago when we recorded the last episode, I finally went and committed to like listening to other podcasts cover this, other YouTubers cover this, and I really wanted to make sure I did it justice and covered it as like respectfully as possible and as thoroughly as possible. So I hope I do it justice. But you're right. I think the reason I keep it on the back burner all the time is like I know I need to tell the story at some point, and so I'm finally getting the personal strength to do it. That being said, there were many months, probably years, where I was not in a good headspace to cover this. So if you are currently not in a headspace to be able to listen to this story, then please do not put yourself through this. If you don't, you can always come back if you want to. But if you are someone who feels particularly sensitive about violence against children, which I mean, I think a lot of us do, and you feel like you just can't cope with this today, please feel free to move on.
Is there also an essay trigger warning for you?
There is a brief one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To an extent.
Yes, there is a mention.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, there are multiple mentions. Yeah, there is definitely a warning. There's sexual assault. There's violence toward children. And those are the main things. So yeah, good call. And I know a lot of stories I covered do have sexual assault and violence toward children, but this one, for whatever reason, a lot of people, myself included, find particularly tough.
It's a special type of evil when children are involved.
It is, and it's. I think the context of it is also so shocking that it's. And like I know I've covered violence against children before, so I always hate to compare the stories that I cover to each other, but there's something about this one that is so shocking because of the context of like a Girl Scout camp. Like it's just so.
It's also multiple children.
Multiple children. It's really hard. It's tough to swallow. So if you are somebody who's like, nah, not feeling it, please by all means skip this episode.
Also, if you were here to laugh, I hope you found it earlier in this episode, because I don't think we're making any side comments in this one. So
I mean, it's a very fascinating story. So like, don't get me wrong. It's a story that I think needs to be told. And I think it's a very famous true crime story for a reason, and you'll see the many reasons why. It's very layered. So if you are willing to listen, like, don't worry, it's going to be an interesting episode, but don't feel like you have to stick around if you're not comfortable. Okay, so today's episode is about the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders. Girl Scouts, be prepared.
Yeah. That's pretty much the only imagery I have because I don't know any other details other than Girl Scouts are involved and probably, not all of them are making it out at the end of the story. So that's all I know.
Just before we get into the really deep, dark stuff, you don't have any experience with Girl Scouts? I mean, obviously, I know that, like, this is not something you would want to.
I always wanted to be in the Boy Scouts.
Right.
I don't know. No, I've always, I've never been in it. I've always wanted to be one of those people who went to, like, as an adult, I would love to go to, like, a survival camp.
Oh God, Em, you literally are outspoken about hating hiking, and you want to go to a survival camp? Realize how little sense that makes. You literally told me once you would not survive without air conditioning for more than 6 hours.
Because I've never been to survival camp, probably. No, like I know how backwards it is, but I think
you couldn't even be under my roof without central air, without
100%, 100%
lying on the floor and complaining
loudly.
Loudly.
But I think it's my. Honestly, what would give me the exact same effect though? I think it's just because I love a good fun fact, and I would like to be useful in a crisis, and that's the only reason, but I wouldn't want to experience it to have to learn it, which is
so let's learn it in, like, an indoor controlled setting, like
the worst case scenario books. I fucking love those.
I love those books.
So honestly, if someone could just get me, like, the big compilation version of that, like the comprehensive guide, that's probably all I need. And then a survival
read
camp.
It on the toilet, and then
read it in the woods. If I need to survive, I'll just bring that book with me.
You can just intubate someone with a pen, and it'll be great.
Oh, see, those are truly, like, if someone was choking in front of me, they would die. Like, that would be a horrible thing.
Well, okay. I mean, learning the Heimlich is, like, not.
I would like to go to useful survival camp, like I don't know what the right word is, but more like practical survival camp. Like, I'd love to do, like, a CPR class, a Heimlich class, I mean,
you can very much do that, my friend. Like, I took a CPR class because I had a baby, and I was like, I want to know how to do infant CPR.
I know I can. I can also go to survival camp. I just refuse to.
Yeah, but survival camp seems like a big step up. Like, you can take a Red Cross thing in, like, a couple hours, and you're done.
I feel like,
and honestly, I recommend it because it is nice to know, like, hey, in worst case scenario that you hope never happens,
I really would like to do that. I really just want to know how to get myself out of any sticky situation, including the extreme ones. But then again, if I took, like, one class and then never attained it in 10 years from now, like, I wouldn't know how to do it anyway. So I don't know. It's like one of those fun thoughts where I'm like, wow, maybe if I were a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, that would have stayed with me, and then I feel a little regret. But other than that,
honestly, this might comfort you because I was briefly a Girl Scout, or I guess it was more like a Brownie.
Oh, you were a Brownie.
Yeah, and then I kind of got, I wouldn't say kicked out, but I wasn't really welcome.
Did you show them the picture of Chris Angel?
They said, this is a class on Photoshop. And I said, oh,
you went,
step aside.
Let me teach. Let me teach everyone.
Of course. No, I went to kind of a school that wasn't the most welcoming of people with differences. And I still, had a German accent. And, like, I'm aware that as a white child with a German accent, a Western European accent, that doesn't make me that, different from a lot of other people who have to face, like, bullying and stuff in elementary school. But there was something about, my mom was divorced, and she was the only parent in the Girl Scout group that was divorced, and she got a lot of flack, and people were very weird and like to refer to her as the nanny. There was a lot of weirdness in my Girl Scout troop, and my friend Celine and I, like, we sold cookies one summer, but we lived in an area that was where the riots took place, the Cincinnati riots back in the 90s. And there was, like, the curfew and everything. And so we would just our parents would just kind of let us wander around the neighborhood and ring different apartments' doorbells and try to sell cookies. And we definitely faced some things in that experience that maybe our parents shouldn't let us just wander around. But,
fair enough.
Whatever. Okay. Point being, I did Girl Scouts briefly. It was not a great experience. And I did not feel welcomed in it. And I'm not saying that's the fault of the Girl Scouts. I think that was more the fault of my school.
Well, also there's something polarizing that just happened in the Boy Scouts or something. Either they were very pro LGBT or very not, and I don't remember which one it was.
Well, I certainly don't want to make the call because I have no idea.
No, I'm gonna Google it because I remember there being like something about like a trans boy wanting to join the Scouts or something.
Oh boy, see, that's a thing. And we said a lot of the Pledge of Allegiance, and even at age 8, I felt weird about all that.
LGBT advocates applaud Boy Scouts. This is as of 2017. I don't know what the new thing is. The ban on I don't know what it is, but they have one of two opinions and I don't know which one it is. So I don't know if I'm in favor or not of them.
What a fun roulette game for us. Yeah.
50-50. But I did always want to at least I wanted to know the cool skills, and I think I like the idea of being in a club where I had
but
buddies.
You've always been one of those people who's really into being in a group, like a fraternity or
I love that stuff.
I always felt like I just did not fit into that, and I don't know why, but anytime I tried to join a club or a group, I felt like the odd one out. And again, that's probably a me thing. I don't know, but I just never quite fit into the Girl Scouts. And I did go on a camping trip, and it was very similar to the one I'm about to tell you. And I think maybe, oh gosh, I haven't cried in many months, and I'm getting already.
Why? What happened?
Because I'm just thinking I think I'm finally realizing the reason that this story is so hard for me to tell is because one of the girls just felt so. She just had such a hard time integrating into the group, and her mom just wanted her to be, social. I mean, I'll tell you the story obviously, but I think that might be why it was just so hard for me to swallow the story. Anyway, This is not about me. I'm sorry. I have some fun facts before we tell the story, though.
Good. I really appreciate you asking and making some fun banter before we get into the worst of it. But then you cried at the end, so that doesn't work.
Fuck, I tried. And I think part of it too is everybody in the U.S. I don't want to say everybody, but I feel like a lot of people who grew up in the U.S. have some association with either Boy or Girl Scouts because
they at least had a friend who was in it, or
someone, or knew of it or have an opinion of it, and so I feel like it hits home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I have some fun facts about these cookies.
Oh, yeah. See, when you asked if I was involved at all in the Scouts, I forgot to mention I'm very involved as an adult.
I think we all knew that answer, though. Nobody had a question about that answer for you. Yeah.
Okay, before or after these fun facts, I would like to know your top 3 cookies.
Okay.
So let's hear these fun facts.
Caramel Delights, a.k.a. Samoas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the peanut butter ones.
Are they the peanut butter patties?
I think they're called peanut butter patties.
Tagalongs.
Are the tagalongs? Yeah,
they're called tagalongs.
And Thin Mints.
Those are my 3 too. But I think I have them in it. Oh,
I meant no. Wow.
Oh, I thought you meant as if you had a new opinion.
But I think peanut butter's third for me, and maybe Thin Mints are first.
See, I think that you and I have the exact. It's Thin Mint, Samoa.
Yes.
Tagalongs.
That's the order. Yeah.
I'm trying to look up the newest because they have some new flavors recently.
The lemon ones are pretty good, and I don't say that just because of lemon, but I do like the lemon cookies too.
I was gonna say that can't be right. I don't think I like them.
They're good.
What was the one I just had?
Oh, I like the shortbread with the chocolate on them. Ugh.
They have a. You know what? Oh, this was the one that was disappointing because I obviously wanted to really like they have a s'mores one now, which how on earth did it take until 2020 to have a s'mores
for
Girl
a
Scout cookie?
Yeah,
yeah. But also it's kind of stinky.
I never tried it.
It's not that good.
My brother and I did a Beach Too Sandy episode on Girl Scout cookie reviews. That was an episode.
The way that y'all can just pull out any goddamn topic. Anyway,
because people will complain about everything on the internet.
There is one that I'd like to try called the Adventurefuls, which is brownie and caramel.
Okay, I'm not a huge caramel, but that sounds good.
But no, we have the same top 3. Nice to know.
Honestly, that's adorable.
It is. Now I know what to get you when the season hits.
Yay! Although we would honestly, we just have to get like triple what we normally order because you're gonna get mad if I eat.
No, by the way, no pun intended, but they delivered during COVID. They started a delivery service during COVID. Yeah. So
yeah,
smart.
They did. They have an app. It's a whole thing. Oh my God.
I remember thinking like, oh man, I have to go leave my house for Girl Scout cookies. And then during COVID, they went, we beg to differ. We're the fucking Girl Scouts. We are women in STEM and we are going to deliver this technologically to you.
Honestly, you drinking out of a color changing cup while you say that is the most powerful thing I've ever seen.
I am a woman in STEM, said every Girl Scout in 2020.
Says the Boy Scout, M. Schultz.
That's me. Well, if there was a brownie version of a Boy Scout, I'd like, what's that, a cookie? I'd like that.
Honestly? A blondie?
Ooh.
I don't know.
We'll shop it. We'll shop it.
Okay. So
let's get into the fun facts now.
Okay, the fun facts, yes. According to a website called Best Life Online, the Girl Scouts have been selling cookies for over 100 years, with the first cookie sale held in 1917 in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Ooh. Do you happen to... go ahead. You
I was just going to say, it makes it also sad because the story takes place in Oklahoma. So it's like, clearly this is like a home base for the Girl Scouts.
Never mind. I was going to say, do you know if any of the cookies they sell today are originals from the 1917 like lineup?
That's an excellent question. I actually don't know.
I wonder, maybe those trefoils, they seem like an old person cookie.
Those seem like the grandma cookies, yeah. Mm-hmm. So with the Girl Scouts selling nearly 200 million boxes of cookies each season.
To me alone.
To M. Schultz. Oh, yeah, sorry. Did I not clarify? That's only to Burbank, California. Yeah. This makes them approximately $800 million, making it the largest girl-run business on the planet.
Honestly, girl boss.
Fucking get it, girls.
I love that. Power team.
Power team. This year, the LA Times released an elaborate graph of how they would rank the cookies, with the x-axis being worst taste to better taste, and the y-axis being worst frozen to better frozen.
Oh, well, you know Thin Mints was at the top of that
one. Thin Mints had to be number one, right?
I think so.
So here are the 3 top cookies based on sales. Do you want to take a quick gander?
I know Thin Mint has to be one, right?
Maybe you should just say exactly what you said earlier.
Is it our top 3 Thin Mint Samoa tagalongs?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so we're basic bitches. So
Caramel Delights is what I always call them. Yep, we're basic bitches. We go to Starbs and we eat our 3 top favorite Girl Scout cookies.
You know what?
Just like everyone else.
They found a recipe. They found a formula that worked. And why on earth would you mess with it when it's not broken?
Good point.
I wonder how much...
still keep those fucking trefoils around.
I wonder how much money collectively all of the other cookies make, and if it's just worth it to never sell them again. Like,
that's a good point. If they just like cancel those.
Yeah, just like, here are our 3, because the others combined make $5
but
a year.
You know there's got to be like some people who order like 40 boxes of like Butterscotch Delight or whatever the fuck.
You know, it's so actually I have a really, I guess I was anti-Girl Scout at one point, because I remember in like 7th grade, there was clearly a Girl Scout at our school who she would bring her like duffel bag of Girl Scout cookies to school with her so she could then sell them at like the grocery store after school or something.
Oh, right.
And she would literally just leave her duffel bag of cookies in the public bathroom.
Oh!
And I gotta be honest, I definitely ate like 4. I would go to the bathroom.
Wait. What? You just took them?
I was 12 and mean. I don't know.
Why were you anti-Girl Scout if you were just taking them out of the bathroom? That seems like you'd be pro-Girl Scout.
Well, I was anti-Girl Scout in that I was helping a Girl Scout not make her money back.
Oh, I see.
Because I would ask to go to the bathroom like 5 times every class.
Emma!
I would just sneak one. To be fair, I never opened a box, but there was clearly someone else had beat me to it, and someone else had seen I'm not kidding. It was like 30 boxes of Thin Mints. And One of them was
love
already
that
open.
y'all just had this unspoken agreement, like, I'll open it if someone else helps me eat these.
I had a limit to my nastiness, and I was like, I'm not going to open a box. Like, that's mean. Like, these were closed. They're not my box to open.
So
but
mean
I definitely thought the open box was mine to eat. And so I was like, I'm just going to have two. And then I would come back 10 minutes later, just have two, and come back later, just have two.
I would
and then
have
I probably ate the whole box by the time.
I would have a hard time saying no if they were already open. It's not like she can sell those, right?
Right, that's what I thought.
No,
so anyway,
I'm kind of. It's weird how I've kind of turned the tides, and now I'm on your side.
I'm just saying it was already open. It was funny because there was clearly other people who had the same mindset as me, because there would be times where I would leave my class to go to the bathroom and like steal one of them, and a whole sleeve was missing. So like and not because of me, someone else was clearly also stealing the cookies. So that's my closest experience to being in the Girl Scouts, was going through a Girl Scouts bag and robbing her.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I feel like
I wasn't in the wrong. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I feel like I would have been the other person. Like, I feel like somewhere in the United States while you were doing that, I was pulling some similar bullshit. And I don't think that I have any room to judge you.
And if you did judge me, honestly, it was over half my life ago. I cannot speak for who that person was.
Matter.
I could not speak for them, but also I don't blame them either. If I got a call from the principal and found out that that's what my kid was doing, I can't act like I'd punish them. I'd be like, don't do that. But also, I don't want to find out what you're doing.
But also, like bring me some. If you're going to fucking go to the bathroom and take cookies, bring a sleeve home.
Have you ever heard of the word accomplice? Because I would like to be that.
Have you ever heard of the word blackmail? Because if you don't bring me a sleeve, I might call the principal.
And I might say, you know what? That's exactly right. My kid stole all of them. But that doesn't have to be the phone call I make if some cookies show up for me, you know?
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
You and I are gonna raise hellions. I'm just gonna say it right now.
You're already doing it. She's gonna lead the pack.
I know. I don't even know what to do about it. It's too late.
If you ever find her on Microsoft Paint drawing a picture of her with Chris Angel, you're going to have a weird talk with her and be like, we are too similar. Please stop.
Oh, God, I'm so scared. Okay, well, while we were having this conversation, I Googled original Girl Scout cookies. Of course, you were right. And the shortbread was the first cookie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The box does not look very appetizing. And I have a fun fact for you here. During World War II, the Girl Scouts sold calendars in addition to cookies because of shortages of flour, sugar, and butter.
Aw.
In 1943, there were 48 cookies per box. By 1943, Girl Scouts also collected fat in cans to aid the war effort and sold war bonds at no profit.
Oh, wow. Look at them. They are just activists.
They are. And then in the 1950s, 3 more cookie recipes were added. So the first thing that they sold was like just a biscuit. Okay. Mm-hmm. A biscuit. Mm-hmm. A simple sugar cookie recipe. Then they added shortbreads, Savannahs, which are okay. So that's the one I like. Sorry, I didn't mean the
tagalongs.
I'm deviating from tagalongs. I like the Savannahs, which are the peanut butter sandwich cookies.
Oh, I don't think I ever had those.
I really like those. Or they're also called do-si-dos.
Oh, okay. I only knew them as do-si-dos.
I think do-si-dos is what we called them too. And they added Thin Mints. So Thin Mints were one of the earliest ones, and they added Samoas in the 70s. Okay. Anyway, let me get back to my notes.
Hey, that was a great episode. Can we just stop here?
I know. I'm like bullet number 4. Can't we just end
I know.
it? Ooh, okay. So, on to the Girl Scouts. So, Girl Scouts themselves, this is interesting. Alumni have included me, sort of.
Okay.
I don't know if I count.
That is interesting. You're right. Stupid Gemini.
Let me finish. Me.
Okay.
Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay. Why don't you just call Taylor up, you know?
Mariah Carey, Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Katie Couric, Robin Roberts, Dakota Fanning, Gwyneth Paltrow, Venus and Serena Williams, and 69% of female senators.
Whoa.
Right?
Wow, start them young. That's the political campaign right there.
Damn.
Put them in the Girl Scouts. Might just maybe be president.
Damn. Too bad none of those people have been presidents because they're all women.
Yep. Well, hey, you know what? You said it, not me, but I'll also say it because they weren't women, because they weren't men.
I'm just saying. I mean, odds are none of them were going to be president. Okay. So anyway, let's fucking get into the horrible, sad shit. It was the summer of 1977, and Girl Scouts across the United States were ready for camp. They'd spent the year selling their Girl Scout cookies, collecting badges, but camp was the main event of the year. So this story takes us to a place called Locust Grove, Oklahoma, which was the base of Camp Scott, which was originally called Camp Modelco. And this Girl Scout camp originally opened on August 11th, 1928. It was based 50 miles from Tulsa's Girl Scout headquarters, and it was amongst 410 acres of wooded area.
Wow.
It was a big, beautiful part of the Oklahoma wilderness. And as camp counselor Michelle Hoffman would describe, quote, "My first year at Camp Scott, I remember going, whoa, because it is so dark, dark, dark in those woods at night." So we are out in the middle of fucking nowhere as part of the story. So this year, the camp was looking to house 140 campers and 30 staff. On entering the camp, you followed what was called the Cookie Trail, which led you to 11 various camping units, which all had Native American themed names or names based on Native American tribes. Each unit had 7 tents for 3 to 4 campers to stay in, along with 1 counselor's tent. And the tents, I just want to describe, they're sort of like a big tent on a wooden platform where there are cots.
Okay.
Inside.
I've been in those.
Yeah, same here. Like when I did
almost like a cabin tent situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's enough room for like a bed in it.
Yeah.
And your stuff. And when I did my one Girl Scouts camping trip, we stayed in these exact tents.
Is it like a Parent Trap situation and their camp spaces? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They were basically in like a little cabin with like a few cots.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is just like Parent Trap, my favorite movie of all time. Yeah, it is basically just like the Parent Trap setup where there are like 4 girls in one tent / it's a tent, but it's like a big like a big tent with cots.
Yeah.
So we are specifically in camp. I was going to say Kiowa, but I watched a docuseries where they called it Kiowa. So I'm going to pronounce it Kiowa. Camp Kiowa, which was home to 27 Girl Scouts in 1977. And the way that Camp Kiowa was set out is that there were a total of 8 tents, including one of the counselors, and they were shaped in a sort of crescent moon formation. There was also a latrine as well as a campfire pit nearby. And according to the website Abandoned EDOC, Camp Scott boasted an exciting range of activities, including, quote, swimming, CPR training, and you might want to step up and join, archery, pathfinding, bridge building, bird study, insect life, and leadership skills.
Those all sound lovely.
Honestly, that is not what I had in Girl Scouts, but I feel like this I would have fucking loved. Like
that feels like what my summer camp was.
Yes, like real skills.
Yeah.
I
love archery. That was always my favorite in summer camp.
Oh, I never went to summer camp.
Oh, I mean in Brownies where they let you shoot arrows. I don't know.
Well, I remember we talked a lot. Someone quoted me on Twitter. They were like, because you were like, "Oh, I rode horses," and then I said, "I had a hose."
What?
You said something. You were talking about camp, and you're like, "I had to ride horses in the summer," and I was like, "I had a garden hose."
That was I don't remember the conversation, but it sounds right. And I did have to ride horses, and it was not fun. But I did
had a
archery.
garden hose, and you were like, "Well, that sounds fun." And I was like, "Honestly, it fucking was."
It was. I guarantee it was so much more fun than having to learn how to clean horses' hooves and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
Getting kicked into a stable. It was like a movie. I got like like rib breaking kicks into a wall because I didn't know what I was doing.
I feel like we are the Parent Trap kids where it's like we just trade lives and we're like, what the fuck is going on?
You could happily take my spot there.
You're
Go
like,
for
you
it.
play with this hose all day. And I'm like, I literally drink from it.
As an only child, I've played with worse things for longer. So like, I'm okay. Like, I'm fine with it. I could make a hose work.
Oh boy. Okay. So those were the fun classes and courses they had to take. Super fucking cool. I mean, just bird study, bridge building, pathfinding. Like, if this is what Girl Scouts is,
it's survival camp. That's what I consider survival camp.
I never thought I would ever put my child into Girl Scouts because of the shitty experience I had. But if this is what it is, like, that's fucking great. I would love for my kid to learn these skills.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so this is what the camp was made of. The cost for the full 10-day stay at the time was $9.
Oh, sign me up.
Right? And nowadays, I think that's closer to like $70 or $80. But still, for 10 days of this full camp, sleepaway camp,
that's amazing.
Crazy affordable. So it was 2 weeks, and this was going to be an awesome time. They've been doing this for years. Girl Scouts have been around for decades. But unfortunately, Camp of Summer 1977 would come to an abrupt end when, on the first official morning after the first night of camp, Monday, June 13th, one of the camp counselors, 18-year-old Carla Wilhite, headed to the staff house showers at 6 a.m. And on her way, as she passed the edge of camp on the border of the woods, she spotted 3 sleeping bags lying beneath a tree. Obviously, she spotted these and thought they're out of place. I should put them back. And as she got closer, she spotted a young girl lying on top of one of the sleeping bags. And unfortunately, the girl was very obviously dead.
Oh.
The girl that Carla spotted was 10-year-old Doris Denise Milner, known as Denise. She was motionless. She had her hands tied behind her back, and she could not be woken up.
Wow.
Obviously terrified and alarmed, the counselor ran to collect the other counselors and, like, listen to this, 18-year-old Susan and 20-year-old Dee. They're basically kids themselves.
Yes.
And I've heard some other people covering the story talk about, like, oh, they didn't, do a good job. And I'm like, they're children in the 70s. They have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
A 20-year-old is not prepared. They're prepared to macrame. They're not prepared to know what to do with a dead body,
I wouldn't know what to do. I just hit 30. I wouldn't know what to do if I saw a dead body.
Exactly.
Call the police. I wouldn't know what to do. I know nothing about protocol.
Yeah. And so I have a hard time, like, giving them any sort of flack because they're basically kids themselves. And so 18-year-old Susan and 20-year-old Dee, they do a head count and they get the camp director and camp nurse who were a short drive away. So tent number 8 was Denise's tent, and she was the one who was found dead on her sleeping bag. This was the first tent that Counselor D checked out. And just to clarify this, because this does get a little confusing when you look it up on Reddit or any of the kind of graphics where people draw out the diagram, the camp called this tent, Denise's tent, tent number 7. But the police called it tent number 8 because they were including the counselor's tent as tent number 1.
Oh, okay.
So they were just counting them differently.
Okay.
But for the purposes of this episode, we're going to go by police records because that's just how everything was notated, and call Denise's tent number 8.
Okay.
So tent number 8 was the closest to the bathrooms and the kitchen, but it was also the furthest from the camp counselor tent.
Okay.
Basically was on the other side of this crescent moon situation. It was 86 yards or 79 meters away from the counselors, and because of the layout of the camp, the counselors had an obstructed view of tent number 8. So they were basically the most removed from any sort of like adult or chaperone figure.
Sure. They're kind of on their own, doing whatever they want and kind of maybe getting away with it.
The most distant tent. So entering tent number 8, Counselor D was immediately confronted by the fact that the other 2 girls who were supposed to be in the tent with Denise were not. Their sleeping bags were not there either, and the tent itself was covered in blood.
Ugh.
The camp director, Barbara Day, and the camp nurse arrived pretty quickly at the crime scene and pronounced Denise as dead. And it was camp director Barbara's husband, Richard, who first thought to check the other 2 sleeping bags that were laying underneath Denise's body.
Ugh, okay. Was there something in there?
Sure enough, the 2 other girls from tent number 8, 8-year-old Lori Farmer and 9-year-old Michelle Gouzay, were also found dead in their sleeping bags underneath.
So they were all stacked.
Yep.
Oof.
Denise's body.
Okay. You're doing great.
I'm sorry I'm even putting you through this.
No, I'm just bracing myself is all.
Yeah. So Counselor Carla Wilhite said that Denise, Lori, and Michelle were 3 of the quietest kids at the camp.
Aww.
But I know. I think like going off my weird reaction earlier and then like this exact reaction you just had is probably why this was so hard for me, because I feel like
it seems so pure and
these are the
ones
and... I would have been like, oh, we're the weird, like we're like the odd ones out, or like the you know, they were the quietest kids in the camp, but their tent was, quote, loud and lively before they had gone to sleep because they had all just connected with each other.
Oh, that's so pitiful.
It gets so much worse.
Okay. So far there's...
It's hard to believe.
So far there's 3 dead bodies we know of, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Lori, who was 8 years old, was the youngest Girl Scout in the whole camp. She was very, very thrilled about going to camp and about the prospect of meeting new friends. She had been born June 18th, 1968 in Little Rock, Arkansas, and her family had moved relatively recently from Little Rock to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And according to the podcast Criminal Discourse, Lori, who was the eldest daughter of Charles and Sherry Farmer, had 4 younger siblings and was known to be a bright, young, mature girl who excelled in school and even skipped 2nd grade. She had just finished her 4th grade year at Jenks Elementary School. She was a little unsure about attending Girl Scout camp that year, so it was between this and a camp sponsored by the YMCA. But in the end, Lori's mom, Sherry, this is tough, made the decision for her.
Wow, the guilt.
And Sherry said she would later regret this decision for the rest of her life.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
And I'll be honest, that's kind of the running theme of this entire story, which is also what makes it so hard. So Michelle Heather Gouzay, born July 22nd, 1967 in Miami, Oklahoma, had already been to Camp Scott the year before and was known to be athletic, active, and was enthralled by outdoor pursuits, according to a Medium article by Michael East. So while Lori and Denise were both from Tulsa, Michelle hailed from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And this is somewhat relevant because I think it was May of this year, so like last month as we record this, a docuseries came out on Hulu called Keeper of the Ashes. And it's a 4-part series about the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders, but it's featuring Kristen Chenoweth.
What?
Because she's from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
So wild.
And she was supposed to go on this trip.
Oh, I see. I see. I connect now.
And so the whole show is she kind of is like the entry point. Like the show's not, I thought it was pretty good. It doesn't revolve around her the whole time, but
she's just the narrator of like.
Yeah, it almost like uses her exactly as like an entry point. in that she went to school with Michelle Gouzay in Broken
Aw.
Arrow and said, like, you know, I didn't know her well, but like I passed her in the halls, and this is and she was supposed to go on this trip, but she was sick and her mom didn't let her go. And so it is kind of like the entry point into this docuseries. And I will say a lot of what I learned from this series is going to be covered in the part 2 episode. But the docuseries itself was really, really beneficial in answering a lot of questions that I had about, like, we haven't even gotten there yet, but there are a lot of racial issues and racial undertones that happen in the trial. And there's just a lot of layers that get a little clarity in this docuseries. So
Sure.
we'll get there. But
okay, well, cheers to Kristen Chenoweth's documentary.
I know. And I feel like I was almost glad that I waited this long to cover the story, because this just came out last month. So I was able to like add a little bit of, I don't know, insight. So according to the Mile Higher podcast, which I also listened to their coverage of this, Michelle liked to play soccer. She enjoyed reading and loved to spend her time with her older brother, Mike. She also deeply cared about her house plants.
Aww.
And she told her mom before leaving that she had to promise to take care of them, especially her favorite, the African violets. I mean, God.
Heartbreaking.
As for Denise Milner, she was born February 5th, 1967, and lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma with her parents Betty and Walter and younger sister Kathleen. So Denise was said to be the shyest of the girls in tent number 8, and she was notably one of the only Black girls at Camp Scott as well that year.
Okay.
And they interview Betty pretty extensively in the Keeper of the Ashes docuseries, and so it's pretty cool to hear her take. But it's also interesting because the camp counselor Michelle, who I'm going to talk about, is also interviewed firsthand and talks about finding the bodies and her relationship with Denise, and it just adds a lot of context to the whole story.
Extra heaviness to an already
it makes
heavy
it extra
situation.
Bad, okay?
Yeah.
It makes it extra hard to watch.
It makes you cringe and cry even more.
It makes it more emotional, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Denise's family was from Tulsa, and her father was one of the police officers there. She was a straight-A student, and she had recently been accepted to Carver Middle School, which was a prestigious school for exceptional students. And she had spent the year in the run-up to camp selling enough Girl Scout cookies to afford her trip to camp.
So sad.
And with camp now approaching, Denise started to get really, really nervous about going. And she was apparently very excited, but she was really scared about being without her mom and sister for 2 weeks. And this was only heightened when the girls that she actually knew who were going to camp pulled out of the trip. And she basically told her mother, like, I don't want to go anymore. My friends aren't going. I'm scared. I don't want to go. However, her mother, Betty, pushed her to go. She wanted to develop her independence. And she said, I mean, I'll read you the quote. She said, all you have to do is call and we'll come and get you.
Oh my God. Wow. So this is like, it's not even like this horrible thing happened, but I just feel like a whole camp of mothers, and
it's horrible.
The guilt of
yeah.
Already you've told 2 different stories of moms being like, no, this will be good for you.
And of course it would, you know, like even nowadays.
Yeah, they didn't do anything wrong.
No,
they
exactly. It's like
it's just an added guilt later of I not forced them, or I'm sure that's what their brain is telling them. Had I not made them do it, then, you know, like I'm responsible for this. It's
there must be a lot of
the spiraling,
there is a lot of guilt. Yeah,
the spiraling.
So her mother, Betty, pushed her to go. She wanted her to develop her independence, and eventually Denise was convinced. Denise was exhibiting signs of being incredibly homesick on the bus leaving Girl Scout headquarters to Camp Scott. And so 15-year-old camp counselor Michelle Hoffman, who is the one I mentioned who was actually interviewed on this docuseries, She noticed how nervous Denise was, and she stayed with her, provided her comfort, told her, like, this is going to be great. We're going to have the best time. I will help you if you want to call your family at any point. She even brought Denise the good news that she would be sleeping in tent number 8 because it was closest to the bathroom.
Oh.
So it was like the luckiest tent to be in.
I mean, it's just getting worse. I don't know what
it's
you
out
want
of
me
a
to
horror
do.
movie. It just gets worse and fucking worse. So, this is where it gets a little spooky. Chillingly, when Denise had left for camp, her mom, Betty, had a weird conversation with her other daughter, Kathleen. On the day Denise left, 5-year-old Kathleen turned to her mom, Betty, and asked, "What happens when people die?"
Oh, forget it.
As Betty was responding, mid-conversation, Kathleen said to her mom, "Mama, tomorrow everyone is going to die." And the following day, her older sister and the 2 other girls were brutally murdered.
Oh my God.
And they still can't explain what the hell that was all about.
Whoa, big old chills.
Right?
Also, imagine the guilt of that girl growing up and realizing she was right.
She was just like predicting something. Yeah.
Ugh.
On the day before the bodies were found, which was the first day of camp, on Sunday, June 12th, all 130 campers arrived at their respective camps between 3:30 and 4 p.m. and were shown to their tents. This is when Denise, Michelle, and Lori all met each other for the first time, and they seemed to really get along. The afternoon consisted of a pretty admin-heavy itinerary. There was a storm moving in, and so they moved everything into the dining hall, and this is where they spoke about camp rules, their schedules for the week. They even had sing-alongs. It was all indoors as they, got ready for the evening, and eventually everybody returned to their tents for bed. The tent number 8 group was still wide awake and seemingly quite bored, and so they all wrote letters home to their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I have those letters.
Okay.
And I'm going to read them to you.
Okay. Let me readjust and get ready.
So this is the letter that Michelle wrote to her Aunt Karen. "Dear Aunt Karen, how are you? I am fine. I am writing from camp. We can't go outside because it is storming. Me and my tent mates are in the last tent in our unit. My tent mates are Denise Milner and Lori Farmer. My room is in shades of purple. Love, Michelle."
Aw.
Here's the next one. Lori wrote, "Dear Mom and Dad and Misty and Joe and Chad and Kathy, we're just getting ready to go to bed. It's 7:45. We're at the beginning of a storm and having a lot of fun. I've met 2 new friends, Michelle Gouzay and Denise Milner. I'm sharing a tent with them. It started raining on the way back from dinner. We're sleeping on cots. I couldn't wait to write. We are all writing letters now because there's hardly anything else to do. With love, Lori." And this is Denise's letter, and this is where I had kind of a breakdown. It's very hard. Just going to read it. Denise wrote, "Dear Mom, I don't like camp. It's awful. The first day it rained. I have 3 new friends named Linda, Lori, Michelle. Michelle and Lori are my roommates. Mom, I don't want to stay at camp for 2 weeks. I want to come home and see Kathy and everybody. Your loving child, Denise Milner."
That's rough. That's really fucking brutal.
And so this is basically the last piece of communication that her mother has from her.
It's her already saying, "I don't want to be here."
Yeah. So Lori's letter was useful in particular in placing what time the girls were heading to bed, because she said it's 7:45, we're getting ready for bed. So after writing their letters, the 3 girls went to sleep and the rain continued, the storm continued. And at 10 p.m., camp counselor Dee Elder did a final check on each tent. At 11:30, Carla Wilhite went to quiet one of the tents, not number 8, a different tent, who were still up making a lot of noise. Carla also got up at midnight because the girls in tent number 2 were all going to the bathroom together and being really noisy, and they were brought back to their tent and told to be quiet. Roughly an hour later, at 1:30 a.m., the girls from tent number 4 were talked to by Carla for not settling down and for being too rowdy. And Carla doesn't remember much happening from tent 8 at this point, but she did clock a strange sound coming from behind the tents, which she described as being a low guttural sound, but she was not sure whether it was animal or human.
Ew.
Yeah.
Again, I know the theme today is guilt, but imagine thinking like, oh, if only I checked, you know?
Yeah. So Carla shone her flashlight in the direction of the noise, and the noise stopped. And I'm realizing I said Michelle was for some reason I said Michelle was interviewed in the series. I think I meant Carla. I think I got them.
Okay.
I think I got their names mixed up because Carla was saying she checked like multiple times, and she would shine her flashlight over and it would stop. And so she couldn't pinpoint it. And then as she walked back to her own tent, it would start up again. And so she was sort of like trying to pinpoint where the noise was coming from. It was storming. She couldn't figure out where this was coming from. And so eventually she returned to her tent to sleep. And she did say in the series, like, there is a lot of guilt. Like, what if I had walked over and really checked and looked more extensively, you know? And so she does carry a lot of guilt for that. But she continued to hear the noise intermittently. So around 3 a.m., 2 other girls reported being woken up by noises. One girl claims that around this time, she heard the sound of a girl screaming, which sounded like it was coming from tent number 8. And later, another girl reported that she thought she heard someone screaming, "Mama."
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another Girl Scout who had camped with Lori before thought she recognized Lori's screaming. And she kind of wasn't fazed at the time because apparently Lori was known to wake up in the middle of the night having nightmares.
So like the mama was probably a normal sound of her like wanting her
So the
mom
mama
'cause she
was
had a nightmare.
a different thing, but the girl, so there was another girl who heard what she thought was Lori, and she recognized Lori screaming, and she later reported
she thought the voice came from one of her nightmares.
No, sorry,
I'm interrupting you, and you can literally just explain it.
No, I'll just say the bullet again. So another girl who had camped with Lori before thought she heard Lori screaming at one point during the night, and she wasn't too fazed by this at the time because she had camped with Lori before, and she knew that Lori was prone to waking up in the middle of the night due to her nightmares. So when she heard Lori's voice screaming in the middle of the night, she just kind of went back to sleep and thought, oh, she's probably just having another nightmare.
Gotcha.
So the last thing anyone would remember from that night was that the girls in tent number 7 were woken in the night by a flashlight shining into the tent, which they believed was held by a man.
Yeah.
As the light was shining in their faces, they were unable to recognize who it was. All they could say was that it was only a mere couple of seconds until the tent flap was closed again, and it sounded like the visitor moved on to tent number 8.
Oh, I wonder why he moved on.
Yeah. It's unclear. I wonder if it's because they woke up, maybe?
Maybe. I was trying to think they don't have a counselor in there. I was trying to think. I don't know. I'm
not sure. Another camp counselor reported seeing multiple lights moving towards Camp Kiowa, but the lights soon disappeared, so the counselor went back to sleep. So it was 6 a.m. when Carla would discover the bodies of the girls while she was on her way to the showers, and by 7:30 a.m., this is a little sketch, the camp had called their lawyers before they ever called the police.
Oh, that is a little sketch.
It's not a good look.
I guess I get it if like I were in charge of a camp and something happened. I'd be like, we might as well get the...
No, you want the police there. You want to figure out what happened, right? Like you never call your lawyer to protect yourself before you... If 3 kids are dead, I feel like my first thought would never be, let me call my lawyer.
I'm assuming it happened at the same time, like 2 different people were on 2 different phones. Or is this like they called the lawyers and then waited and then called the police?
The camp called the lawyers before then calling the police and
Oh,
local
before
law
calling the
enforcement.
police, not like, okay.
Yes, definitely before calling the police. Yes.
Okay. In my mind, I was like, you call the police, you call the lawyers, because obviously we're going to need that when the police get here.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, that is a little sketch.
And so local law enforcement eventually turned up at the crime scene. And by 8 a.m., Sheriff Glenn Pete Weaver ended up calling the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, the OSBI. And at 10 a.m., all of the Girl Scouts at Camp Scott were evacuated from the premises. No one told the Girl Scouts why. And this is where it gets also really hard, is because they didn't exactly tell the parents what was going on either. They just told them, you have to pick up your children, but also some of your children are not coming home.
Interesting. I wonder if they had a protocol that they were told to follow if something like this ever happened.
I don't think so. And not
Which
to just
makes
be like that 21st century person, but like it was the 70s. Nothing like this had ever happened. I don't think it was even a thought. Like,
and most of these people you said were in their 20s, or was this like maybe there was someone higher up who was older?
the staff, they were like 18 to 20.
I mean, I don't really blame them then if they were like, I guess we tell the parents to come get their kids.
Yeah, there was just no way to know what to do, I think. There was just like no manual, you know? So they basically had these charter buses that facilitated all the girls back to headquarters in Tulsa. And there was a girl named Angela who, basically all the buses showed up. The parents were there to pick them up. And all the parents knew was that some of the kids had died. And so they don't know if their fucking kid is on this bus. Like, they don't know. I can't imagine. And so they did a roll call. Like, they called the names. And the kids who got off the bus, their parents were like, thank God.
Oh, my God.
But some parents just waited for their kids' names to be called. Oh, my gosh. Just the thought is horrifying.
Every part of this is a different
No, I know. It's
nightmare.
Like a nightmare on a nightmare on a nightmare. It just gets worse. And so there was a girl named Angela who was actually originally supposed to stay in tent number 8. And she was moved last minute. And so her parents later revealed that all parents that day were told 3 of the girls at Camp Scott had been killed.
Oh, my God.
And they didn't say who. And so as the bus pulled up to the Girl Scouts headquarters where the parents were waiting, the way they were finding out if their daughter was alive was whether their name was called. And so counselors were going through the list one by one, and the Girl Scout would exit. But Angela had misplaced something on the bus and didn't hear her name the first 2 times.
Oh, my God.
And so only on the 3rd time she heard her name being called. And when she exited the bus, she saw her mother collapsed on the floor, crying, thinking she was one of the parents who had lost a child. But 3 other parents there had lost children. They just hadn't found out yet. I mean, it's just horrific.
I don't even know what to say. I don't know. It's like, what?
No, I know. There's nothing even, you know?
And also, like, does that, like, I can't imagine waiting that long, but then also, like, nearing the end of the list and being like, why hasn't my kid's name been called?
Yep.
Or, like, everyone goes home and it's just the 3 of you standing there now.
Just waiting. Yeah.
Just waiting. You just look at each other and be like, well, 1, 2, 3. Like,
horrifying.
Is it us?
So, obviously, the families of Lori, Denise, and Michelle were there, and they ended up waiting it out. Their daughter's name wasn't called, and they were informed at the end of this whole fucking charade that their daughters were the ones who had been killed. So, according to investigators from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, it was suspected that the killer had entered the tent from the back, and it was discovered that Lori and Michelle were the first to be murdered. They were killed by blunt force trauma to the head, and unfortunately, their bodies also demonstrated signs of sexual assault. Near the bodies, duct tape, nylon rope, and a red flashlight were found.
And do we know what the blunt force trauma was from? Like, what the object was?
I don't think so.
doesn't matter, but just wondering.
No, that's a great question. I don't think so. I'll look it up before part 2. Because that's a really good question. I'm not sure. So they found this flashlight, and according to Strange Outdoors, the gag on Denise was pre-sewn, which means like someone had planned this in advance and had sewn a gag specifically for this crime. As aforementioned, the tent was covered in blood. There was evidence that whoever did this had attempted to clean the blood from the scene using bed sheets. Why?
Ew,
I don't know.
That's a poor cleanup. Like,
right? It seems like
it's not going to do anything.
Why are you doing that? They didn't do a good job because even a men's 9.5 footprint was found in blood on the tent floor. So they didn't even do like remotely a good job of cleaning up after themselves. They also found a pair of women's prescription eyeglasses, which had apparently been stolen from a different tent in the campsite.
I don't know why that's even creepier, but it's like he went through
Just
and checked
pervasive.
every place.
It's horrible. A lot more of that creepiness is coming for you.
Oh, God. After
conducting interviews with the Camp Scott staff, it turned out that this was not the first time that year that events at Camp Scott were forced to end early. Because get this, in April of 1977, which is 2 months before Farmer, Gouzay, and Milner were murdered, a training session had been held for the camp counselors at Camp Scott. And the weekend was forced to end early after 15-year-old camp counselor Michelle Hoffman returned to her cabin and discovered it had been broken into and was absolutely ransacked. Okay, so get this. I said 18 to 20 years old. This camp counselor was 15.
Oh my God. Like I can't even imagine the stress of something happening in front of me at 15 and now it's my job to fix it.
You're responsible for these children. I mean, yikes.
You are a child. You are 15.
A child.
What are you talking? Oh my God.
So she got back to her cabin, realized it had been completely ransacked. Her suitcases had been thrown outside and somebody had been through her and her roommate's bags. And
so violating.
So violating. And even more menacingly, a note was found in a box of donuts that she had brought for the rest of the team. And the note, someone had eaten the donuts, and the note had said, "We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in tent 1."
What?
Yeah. And this is like 2 months before the murders.
Wait, can you read it again?
"We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in tent 1."
Wow. So fully intentional.
Well, also scribbled all over one of the notebooks was the word kill, and supposedly the rest of the letter referenced something about Martians, and so they kind of thought it was like a prank. And they also found an effigy of a man hanging by its neck from a tree nearby.
Oh my God.
And some people said, which this seems like it can't be true, but I guess this is what some people said, that a couple other counselors admitted that this was like a practical joke, that all of this was a prank.
What?
But like,
that feels like they're covering for somebody.
It feels like to me that they said, "Oh, that someone said that was a prank," but I don't know that there's any proof that anyone actually said they did it. Like, it seems like a rumor.
I don't know what to do with that.
There's no facts about that. There's no hard cold facts about what the fuck this was about, but all of that happened 2 months before the murders, and it does not feel like this was a coincidence to me.
No, it doesn't feel like a coincidence at all.
Killed 3 girls
with a note like that and in the same tent number, which then makes it even creepier, or at least near tent 1, right? Because they're technically tent 7, but it was really tent 8.
It was tent 8, yeah. So it was like the opposite side of the crescent moon.
Maybe they got lost, or
yeah,
maybe
that's
they
true. Maybe they thought 1 and 8 were the same,
or maybe they went to tent 1 and they didn't look like the victims they wanted to hurt
in tent 1.
So maybe they were like, "Oh well, let's just do the opposite and not have to deal with adults, quote adults."
Maybe,
I don't know. I have no idea. For them to have a note like that shows that like a full intention. You could at least go to
feel like it
courts claiming
has
it.
to be related. Like some people
It
say,
has to be.
"Oh, it was just a prank," and I'm like, "What the fuck kind of prank?" What?
First of all, like, haha, like
Yeah,
not funny,
haha.
but also, yeah, that's too on the nose. It's too. It's not. That's something. That's definitely something.
Well, either way, after this was discovered, the camp really didn't know what to do, and so they did nothing to investigate the claims, and that is the end of part 1.
Tell me in part 2 we get closure. We don't, do we? Okay, don't tell me, Christine. Your eyes hurt me. Your one eye that's open hurts, so never mind.
We get more information.
Okay, well, it's better, I guess.
But
wow. Okay. Two-parter. I like when you do two-parters. You told that very nicely for a real struggle of a story.
well, I was going to come prepared with kind of like a positive spin at the end, but instead I forgot and I just opened our text and Eva said, "Wait, OMG, Christine, I got kicked out of Brownies too." And so I said, "Why?" So maybe we'll get an answer of why Eva got kicked out of Brownies. Maybe we both got kicked out of Brownies for similar reasons. I don't know.
I can assure you, if I was in Brownies, I would have been kicked out. So,
You know, my friend Alyssa, who I mentioned earlier about Chelsea Handler, she was my buddy for Girl Scouts, and we were camping, and we were in one of these tents with the cots, and we had to go with a buddy to the bathroom because he had to walk, obviously, in the dark to go to the bathroom through the woods.
Sure.
And I had to pee, and she fucking refused to get out of bed.
Honestly, I don't blame Alyssa. Also,
Yeah, you would have been a shitty partner too. I know it.
well, also, I would hate someone to walk with me. I know, I'm sure I'd be like scared in the woods and the journey. I would like a buddy, but someone standing there knowing how long I'd be taking in the bathroom is also nerve wracking as a child. And as an
I
adult.
had to walk there by myself, and it's fucking scary to walk through the woods at like age 8.
When Allison and I went to the desert, which we don't need to talk any further about that experience.
Please don't.
It was not that fun of a time, but it was fun, but not also as safe as I'd like. There was an outhouse that we had to use for the bathroom, and it was just a little too far away, and the journey was a little too dark for my liking. And I did not enjoy it. So I feel like I got
a buddy.
Well, also, I thought like, oh, Allison should be my buddy, but it wasn't even an outhouse. It was literally a toilet in the middle of.
Okay, but I also don't mean like a romantic buddy. I mean like when you're
true.
7, a buddy who also pees and poops like you do.
I will tell you, going potty out in the outdoor toilet where like there weren't even walls or doors around you. Like if Allison looked out the window, she would just see me on the toilet.
Yikes.
That was an adventure for my confidence.
The only similar thing I think we've experienced is when we went to Nashville, and that there was a bathroom in the condo that the venue Zanies put us in, where out of the toilet you could watch people line up for our show. So we would all sit on the toilet.
The window didn't have curtains or blinds.
No.
So I was always scared that like if I look a little too hard, people will feel me looking at them and they'll look back and see me before our show sitting on the toilet.
There was like a video M sent me and Eva of like just zooming out of the window at a line of people where it said like, "And that's why we drink live," and like just sitting on the toilet. I mean,
well, now we can officially never stay there next time we go to Zanies because everyone's going to look at every window and like, if you see a toilet, that's the spot.
After that bathroom and like that haunted attic I climbed into at that place, I don't think I want to stay there again. Anyway.
Fair enough. That was you volunteered to go up into that attic, by the way.
Oh, I fully was. It was my fault, 100%. But
I don't know, like Zanies, I don't remember my experience on stage because I was not paying attention, but I have the best memories of you and Eva both times we've stayed in that spot at Zanies when we went. That house is
poor
so
Eva got
fun.
so sick though.
That was her Wisconsin.
She probably had a terrible time.
She was miserable, but Christine and I had a great time.
We had a great time. Oh, Eva, speaking of Eva, texted me. She said, I weirdly don't remember, but my mom was the troop leader, and I think I just didn't fit in. But then she kept being the leader even after I left. So she got kicked out, and then her mom was like, bye.
I like how even your mom was like, get out of my zone. You're in my zone.
Sorry, you're not welcome here.
It's like, anyway, now that my kid's gone, time to really party.
Now that weirdo's out of here.
Oh, man. Well, sorry to both of you. I'm sure I would have been kicked out. We can make up a reason if you'd like.
I feel like you would not have been kicked out and you would have fucking run the whole thing.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like I would have run the whole thing until they were like, okay, now's our big hiking day. And then I'd be like, I'm going to cause such a crisis that
you would have
I will have to be removed.
Honestly, you probably wouldn't even be removed. You probably would have just ended the whole program. You would have caused such a stir that like they were like, we're shutting this thing down.
Just like you with your 24 hours or less. I would have become president of the Girl Scouts overnight.
and then torn it down.
Been like, you know what? I'm here to crush the system.
From the inside.
Hiking who? Don't know her.
Just pull it. You were like, I want to learn survival skills. And they were like, let's go on this hill. And you were like, burn it to the ground. We're not doing this.
I just need to climb the ranks so I can set a match and watch it all ablaze. Watch it all go down with me. Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Well, excited as I can be for part 2.
At least there's some answers a little bit.
Yeah. Well, good storytelling.
There's
Christine.
also racism, so, you know.
Yay!
A lot of
speaking of the system and watching it burn.
To look forward to. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll catch you on the flip-flop, cool cat.
I'm going to go eat a burrito.
Okay, and
that's
why
we
drink.